Welcome back to Bass Fishing Dive Bar. Today we're going to be doing an ICAST recap episode. Neither Kurt or I attended ICAST this year, but we're going to go through Tackle Warehouse, click on some items, talk about what we're intrigued with, some products that are being brought back, redesigned, some stuff that has already been out that they've come out with new sizes. There's a couple there that I'm pretty happy, that have been pretty happy with, that they come out with new sizes, and I'm interested in. And we'll go tab by tab on every single category: reels, rods, line, baits, accessories, terminal tackle, all that stuff. But first, I want to say we got a bunch of new listeners. Our following has grown quite a bit in the last couple of weeks because of the WAN Bass US Open episode. Thanks to everybody who got in on that raffle. Thanks to Dylan Denny for offering that up, a free AAA entry for the WAN Bass US Open. Congratulations to Peter Messenger for winning that. Can't wait to see Peter out there. Peter's from Australia. He's come out to the last at least 3 or 4 US Opens. I fished with his partner in, I believe, 2021. Tony was my final day partner, and we had an awesome day on the water. So I'm excited to see Tony and meet Peter out there. But thanks to everybody for following and supporting. And the last couple episodes we dropped, we got a lot of comments, a lot of subscriptions, a lot of likes. That's what helps. It really helped. We're trying to grow this thing, get it out to as many people as possible. We try to put out really, really good information. And what do you have to say about that, Kurt?
The fact that the guy that wins this is from Australia.
Yeah,
like that just goes to show, the reach of bass fishing in the United States, especially WAN Bass, being on the West Coast. We don't talk about it out east here, like that's something you guys start talking about, the locations on the lakes and this and that. And it's, if you talk like that about Kentucky Lake or Gunnersville, like everybody here sort of has a general idea because it's been talked about so much. So to see some good activity and see that other side of the Mississippi River being so well talked about and getting some light on that, I think is pretty cool. So a lot of people just aren't exposed to it here.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say the majority of people that are following us so far are Midwest, upper Midwest, and a few of our West Coast guys. So to see it reach that part of the country and even outside of the country, out in Australia, I've seen a few followers, at least the reach getting, I don't know if they're following or not, but the reach getting to Japan, Australia, New Zealand, there's a few of that, even Russia. There's a few outside of the country that we're reaching. So it's pretty cool to see that. But thanks again for everybody subscribing. If you're not already subscribing, subscribe on YouTube. That really helps out. We're trying to grow this thing to where we can actually get maybe a little bit of compensation and pay for our subscriptions for this stuff, so we're not paying out of pocket. Yeah, because we definitely put our time into doing this. It's a lot of time dedication.
It's cheaper than fishing, though.
It's cheaper than fishing, but yeah. I mean, with everything you and I have both got going, we're having a hard time finding days where we can actually film. Today we had to fit this one in last minute.
Yeah. Well, that's just the thing with the ICAST thing. Like, we're sort of behind on that, like I hope some people still appreciate it. I've seen some coverage on some ICAST stuff, people talking here and there about certain brands they represent. Obviously you and I have relationships with certain brands, but none of us are contractually obligated. I mean, geez, I'm wearing a Sims shirt and an AFCO hat. But we're both tackle junkies. So a little late, but better late than never here with the ICAST coverage. And a lot of stuff's come out that just a lot of companies don't go to ICAST anymore. You and I talked before we got on here a little bit about the ICAST isn't what it once was, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And this year I've seen a lot of people talking about, well, how do we get it back? How do let's bring consumers in, let's do this, let's do that. And it's, at the end of the day, it's got to be financially beneficial for brands to make that travel. That's part of the reason why they moved it from Vegas. I feel like that was its heyday, was when it was in Vegas.
I agree.
But I don't think it's the move that's caused the change as much as it's just simply the way the industry's changed. It used to be everything brand new was launched at ICAST. Then as online sales got more dominant, especially companies like Tackle Warehouse, they have that product as soon as possible. They have the flexibility. They're not worrying about merchandising it into a store, distributions through multiple warehouses. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. They have, essentially one warehouse. Tackle Warehouse now has grown to where it's 2 locations, 2 warehouses, but they're very quick to just add a page to add a new product, and that's done. They can put that product in a warehouse wherever. It doesn't matter it being shoppable. It doesn't have to be on an end cap. They have the ability to be more flexible. But you look at Bass Pro Shops, Shield Sporting Goods, Academy Outdoors, Dick's / Field and Stream. They have to rearrange a lot of stuff to fit that in their store. So they want heads up. Now all of a sudden you're launching stuff, and I had to do this with Dirty Jigs. It's what's your per se ICAST release? As Dirty Jigs, I never went to ICAST. Why? I'll get into in a minute. But I would have to present to the people who I had handling Bass Pro Shops or Dick's Field and Stream, which at the time was Pittman Creek Wholesale. And those guys are doing a bang up job. They keep getting better and better. But I got to tell them what's new for that summer already in like March or April, so that they can take it to Bass Pro Shops, so that Bass Pro Shops then can be prepared and get it in their store and have the room and have the planogram set to have it in there. The demand for it's the hottest, which is when it's brand new, when it's first released. Well, then as a manufacturer, you start to get to where like, I can't sit on this stuff. I got too much money invested into this inventory, and it's just costing me money essentially sitting here. Well, it shows up on your dock, or you manufacture it, or however it is your business works with new product. You want it in the marketplace as soon as possible. So then lots of brands are just, as soon as they can sell it, they're selling it. They're not worried about a hard release at ICAST. They're soft releasing it as soon as they can sell it. Yeah, they might still display it and enter it in as a new product showcase or something like that at ICAST, but it's already been in the market. And now you see a lot of times that happens with the Bassmaster Classic. It's officially released at the Classic.
I was just going to say, as big as the Bassmaster Classic Expo has gotten, that's a second release date, 6 months ahead of time. So now you got 2 giant releases available to them.
Yeah. And I don't know if we can ever have the classic of old, of everything being secrets. It just, I just don't think you're going to get that shock and awe factor. And in the bass fishing world, I think you get more of it at the Classic than you do at ICAST. But it's also sort of because of the buying cycles, bass fishing, launching baits in July for bass fishing and having them new right then and there. I mean, there's advantages to that because that tends to be a slower time of season because people are sort of already got their tackle. But you can drive some extra sales that time of year that normally you wouldn't have because you release a new product at that time. But people aren't necessarily all that willing to go out and spend like you come out with a bunch of jackhammers, which Z-Man, you see that there's additional chatterbaits and jackhammers that they released at ICAST. It's not really that season, like the Classic's the best time of year to launch that stuff and make new product available because that's what a lot of guys are throwing that time of year. I think that's eventually what we're going to start seeing. We're going to see spring launches and you're going to see relative to season launches as we go further more and more. The other thing too is nowadays you can send pictures or videos or send product to people to the, whether that would be, maybe at some point in time, guys like us or you got Matt and Tim at Tactical Bassin, you got Matt Steffen, you got Mikey Balls, you got how many different guys out there that are doing this stuff, social media, influencers. You send them product, they can have a video done in a week and it can go to how many people can see it. That's
hundreds of
way
thousands of
cheaper.
followers.
That is way cheaper than traveling and buying a booth at a show, any show. It's not just ICAST.
Yep.
Any show whatsoever. That stuff is way cheaper and gets you way more exposure than any of these shows do now. And I don't know if you can ever make ICAST or an expo show what they once were. Like we saw when me and you were first fishing, like you were excited to get that master catalog from Bass Pro right around that first of the year, right? Like that was a big to-do.
Heck yeah.
And then like 2 months later, you'd get the Bass catalog where it was like half as thick, but it was just bass fishing tackle, rods and reels, that type of stuff. Like I remember that being like, that was like a fishing Christmas day when you got that catalog. Well, we saw that go away. You're right.
I was circling things for my birthday in June as soon as we got that catalog. I want this. I want this.
Right. We saw that go away. That is not a thing anymore, right? Everything's instant. It's this fast. You can go on the internet, boom, new. I used to check Tackle Warehouse weekly, all the new product launches, to try to keep up with the business. When what everybody else is doing, where's the industry going? I think you're going to see ICAST and these big expos go that direction. I mean, Berkeley doesn't go anymore. And for whatever reason, they don't want to go anymore, don't choose not to go anymore. But that's one bait we're going to talk about that I'm really excited to see because their sister product has been so popular. But it was released around this ICAST time. But I'm going to call it an ICAST release because it was launched at this time. Anybody that released new product around this time, I consider it an ICAST release. It should be compared with everything else, even if they didn't go, at least from our perspective.
Agreed.
So, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the whole? Where do you agree? Do you disagree on where you think that the whole expo stuff is going? I know you guys used to have a big swim bait show out by you. Does that still go on?
No, Bass-a-thon is not a thing anymore. It's with the way social media is and YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff. Like you said, things are exposed so quickly to the masses that there's a reason Berkeley isn't going anymore. And that may not be may not be the only reason, but I guarantee you it is part of the reason why they are not going to ICAST anymore. They don't see the need to.
Yep.
Social media gets it out to the public like that instantly. And you're putting it out to eyes, maybe even more eyes than you would with an ICAST release. I don't know. Somebody would have to dig into the numbers, but when that's a standalone release out, separate from ICAST, all eyes are on that. It's not somebody going down an ICAST list of, oh, look at this bait, this bait, this bait, and they might miss that one. When you release your one bait out to social media, all eyes are on that, and it may have a bigger impact. I don't know.
I think also too, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, but I know it's a factor, having talked amongst people in the industry, is live coverage at these tournaments matter. You want new product in your pros' hands. Like, depending on the age of your bass fishing age, you may or may not remember the years of Strike King has a new bait because Kevin Van Dam just won with it, right?
Yep. Red Eye Shad.
5XD, 6XD. I mean, just it goes on and on. Probably the 1.5 square bill. There's just so much that way. Those are prototype or soon to be launched baits. That, yes, does it have an advantage because the fish never seen it? Yeah, probably. Very much so. But you can't hide that on a tournament scene anymore. Not with what coverage you have for. I mean, I'm going to say for the three majors we have, right? The NPFL, the Bass Pro Tour slash MLF and Bassmaster Elite Series. It's the live coverage. You can't hide stuff like you used to.
Yeah.
You can't keep things a secret. People are going to see it. And if somebody just won on it as a manufacturer or a business entity in bass fishing, if that was me, I'd want that thing for sale the moment he walks on stage to win. Like, that's what I'd want, because that's when you're going to sell the most baits and put the most of those baits in people's hands to grow that market. You know, it's like, guy wins a tournament, great. Bunch of guys go buy it. They start catching fish on it. They start talking about it nowadays. Next thing, that thing becomes viral, I guess, to lack of a better term, that people are going to buy it because it works. And every once in a while, you make a product just doesn't work the way it's supposed to, you know. But yeah, I think that's one thing that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, that coming up here, it's going to be, I think, even more and more of a discussion.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and add this to the stage. Let's just go down the line. Let's start with rods and reels, and then we'll get to rods. Need to move this over so I can get a better view of the screen. All right, casting reels. I don't really see a lot in casting reels that really intrigues me. Some different sizes of reels. We got Luz, we got Daiwa, Cast King, Okuma.
I mean, at the end of the day, you and I talked about this. It's like with these reels, you got 7, which that's portion of St. Croix or connected with St. Croix. You know, they're trying to do some different stuff there. I'm really curious when I get a chance to talk to John, because I know John's been using some of that stuff. I want to see what his thoughts are. I haven't used any of it. Trica, I know a guy that's been using the Trica stuff, saying that stuff's pretty solid, and he's used everything, and he says it's pretty solid for the price point. You know, probably so like that's probably right there. That Corrado DC is going to be the most popular release out of everything, because, you know, it's DC reel, 150 size, which if you're a Shimano guy like myself, I'm sure you'll say that I've really been missing a higher end 150 size reel. You know, so, but, you know, 13 Fishing's making some moves too, and they're sort of under that umbrella of Normark Rapala. So I'm sure they've got some more stuff in the works, and they're getting some more guys on staff over there and using their equipment. So,
I want to talk about the Corrado DC really quick. Yeah. I've had a couple Corrado DCs and a couple SLX DCs, and I've never had a high-end DC reel like the Antares DCs back in the day. That braking system, the digital control braking system, is different between the high-end and the lower-end reels, correct?
Yes. So I don't want to misspeak here, so give me a second, because I'm going to bring up the description for the Corrado DC.
Because in those, you know, I don't want to call it lower level. The SLX is a lower level reel. It's a budget reel.
Yeah. So
the Corrado is not necessarily that, but I have not noticed that the DC braking system works all that well in either one of those.
So it does, I guess, but it works differently than in the high end stuff. So when they came out with the original Corrado DC braking system, it was the original Calais DC's braking system, if you remember back to that. Is the way it was explained to me. Now, hang on, I'm trying to get here. Now, with the Corrado and those SLXs, the original Corrado and the SLX DC had the same braking in it. No, it was not the type of braking system that was going to give you super distance necessarily, but it was definitely like I had Corrado DCs for skipping frogs because I could cast that frog as hard into whatever I wanted to cast it into and not worry about hitting a tree or hitting the bank or hitting whatever I'm trying to skip under and have it backlash. Like I could stand in my garage. The first one I got, I demoed to people standing in a garage, casting as hard as I could a Spro frog into the wall at like 20 feet. And it wouldn't backlash.
Got it.
I mean, it overrun a little bit, but it wouldn't backlash. You wouldn't bird's nest. So IDC 4 is what they're claiming here. So that would be a generation 4 braking. I'm just going to see. If you look at the new Corrado DC, has IDC 5.
Okay.
So I do use a lot of the Metanium MGL DCs and the current Metanium DC. So the last two, well, no. I don't use the most recent Metanium DC. I use the two previous to it. So you have in the Metanium DC A, which is the current one, you also have DC 5. So I'm going to say, just to my best guess, what you're seeing in this Corrado DC that they just launched, you're having the DC braking that's in my two Metaniums that I use all the time.
So and the difference, the higher end.
Mm-hmm. And the difference there being is that it's a much more refined multi-point system that you can really hone into your, like skipping docks. I really can't set it to the point where I'm never going to backlash, but I can set it to the point where it causes my thumb to be smarter, is what I tell people. That allows that spool to start to slow down and I get an overrun instead of a backlash.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, you're gonna, if you're sidearm skipping docks with a 3/8 ounce jig or a 1/4 ounce jig like I do here in northern Wisconsin, I mean, it saves you a lot of time during the day. But I also want free spool because I don't want to have to cast hard to get to where I'm going. I want to cast nice and easy. So I would say that the DC 150 with that generation 4 DC control, I think that's going to be something very interesting, in that market. But that's also why you see the price point at $315 versus, what we've seen in the past,
or whatever.
Now you have one thing, I guess you and I didn't talk about prior, but this non-classic release type stuff, because it didn't go, or ICAST release stuff because people didn't go, is you got the Abu Garcia Voltic. I am very interested in that. I actually have a couple of them on the way to play with just to see. I'm really curious. I do like that they're a little bit bigger reel. I am very much a 150 size guy for a big cast reel. I don't like 100 or 70 because I'm, my dock skipping I'm doing with 22-pound shooter. That's, I need some capacity there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the current Metanium DC or even regular Metanium, I can't use it for a lot of my techniques because I'm using fluorocarbon instead of braid. I'm not top shotting with, fluoro leader. I'm using straight fluoro. So,
yeah. Okay. I think we're good on casting reels. There's not a whole lot that.
Yeah.
Really
and keep in mind, the viewership may not like this, but we are not budget fishermen, I guess, I mean, I've got
more
reels.
Than you are.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, you're right.
I mean, I've got that, I don't know, 20 Metanium MGLs that were, what was that, like a 2015 release, 2014 release, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never even had to re-grease them. And that's why I
Yeah.
buy higher end stuff, because I buy it once and I'm good. When I find out that I
And,
like it, I'm like, I'm good with buying it because it's going to last me for a long, long time. So,
and you talked me into getting a couple of those. And I, for the most part, have, Corrados. I still
yeah.
have a couple SLXs here and there. But I did buy two of those Metaniums, and they are extremely nice reels. When I'm cranking with those.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get down spinning reels. A couple new 13s. I like the look of that slate spinning reel, that slate gray.
Hmm.
It's with a blue.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool color.
Yeah.
Um, that what BG?
Baits.
That's a saltwater reel.
It's neat to see Baits, and I'm not overly familiar with their bait casters. All I can tell you is, again, it's a 150 class reel, American made, very precisely machined. I've yet to have anybody say anything negative about them. But it's nice to see them playing in the spinning world. Yes, that is obviously not a cheap spinning reel. I'm sure their market, I'm sure their market is definitely, looking at the sizes and the design, it's probably pushed a little more towards saltwater than bass fishing. I mean, just look at the diameter of the spool on there. It's all about
Let's
capacity,
open that one up.
you know. But yeah, I mean, as time goes on and that company grows, I think they have a lot of potential. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's fully machined 6061 T6 anodized aluminum body.
Yeah, freshwater and saltwater environments.
Yeah. I mean, that thing is, 25-pound drag. That's more than most bait casting reels we use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saltwater gearing.
Yeah.
Submersible waterproof
right
design.
there. Yeah. It's telling you that is definitely, you read them specs, that is definitely geared more towards probably the redfish market.
For sure. It is built for saltwater.
Yeah. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what they come out with in the future. I know they haven't played with carbon fiber parts and components in their bait casting reels that I've seen. So, but I think there's a balance that they could find there. That right there, that Daiwa LT spinning reel, that looks interesting.
There's one thing I love everything about this reel except for one, and it's right there, that handle. I am a T handle guy. You might be able to swap that out, but
I used to be a T handle guy, and I would be willing to bet you that what size reel is that? Can you zoom in there and see what size that is on that picture?
They sell 1,000 and a 2,000. I don't think I can.
If you go back to the first picture, no, go to the left. No. Yeah,
that's the 1,000.
Yeah. And because it's a 1,000 and 2,000, that's why you see that most of the reels, that's the differentiating factor. A lot of times, if guys ever are wondering, man, why is the 3,000, which is just a deeper spool version of the 2,500, why is the 3,000 way more? Because it's got a big paddle handle.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one thing. If we, there's actually something I forgot to say, that if you find the two classic, the Hyper Mag Lose spinning reels, they have two of them they launched.
There you go. There's one. I only see one here. Excel and Hyper Mag. But here's your Hyper Mag.
Yeah. So they have two different gear ratios. So the reels look different. So you have to. So they have two different Hyper Mags.
300.
Yeah, I forget which staffer was just doing. I watched their video, but
there you go. The 100 is 5.2 to 1, and the 2 and 3.
No, they have two different Hyper Mags, and one, which is this one, is just the 6.0 to 1, and then they have another one that's faster or slower. That it's another model. Scroll down further, because it's more gray and gold.
No, I don't see it here.
Yeah, but let's see if I can find it here.
This is one here, the Shimano Miravel. While you search that up, for a price point of $150 to $170, I don't know anything about, and they make it from a 1,000 to a 5,000. Let's see, 6.2 to 1 inches, 26 to 41 inches per turn. Looks like a fairly light spinning reel, 5 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing. I mean, for that price point, that's something that I wouldn't think twice about buying. And it's a pretty slick looking reel with a T handle, which I like. Um, what's your opinion on the double paddle spinning reels?
I've never thought that they felt when I reeled them right. I guess they feel off
I
to
agree.
me.
Same.
Um,
I forget what the first one was that Shimano came out with way back in the day, but a buddy of mine had one, and I put it in my hands. I'm like, this feels so foreign. Like I never understood it. But that's a $530 reel. I'm a little I'm a little interested in that one because I'm not going to buy it because I am not a double handle or double paddle spinning reel guy
yeah.
whatsoever. But at a price of $530, I'm interested to see what their thought process was on that one. Because I can't imagine a company would sell that many of them.
Right. So you have the Hyper Mag and you have the Hyper Mag Magnesium.
Okay. Can you throw
Um,
that up there?
yeah. I don't know if this is it because this isn't what I'm remembering, but I'm trying to remember. But one of their pro staffers did a whole video on Instagram about it, and that's something that I've always said. So what I'm gonna get to is I thought it was really neat that they did something like that, where they had the similar reel with two different gear ratios. I used to run, if you remember when they did Daiwa had that way overstock like 10, 15 years ago, the Bradias from Japan. And we were
Mm-mm.
buying them here for like $200 and it was a $400 reel. Well, I use those a lot for my grubs, my little small swim baits, and that hair jigs, that type of stuff, because it was a slow gear ratio. I was only picking up like 28 to 30 inches per handle turn. Where if you go buy a brand new Shimano, pretty much every one that's a 2,500 or 3,000, you're picking up 31 to 36 inches per handle turn. So sort of back to that whole crankbait fishing theory of if I can get slower and I can use the reel to do that, it just makes me more proficient at that slow speed. And that was essentially what the guy's video was discussing, was the two different gear ratios. And unless it popped up in my feed and it was from last year's ICAST, but I can't imagine that the algorithm would have did that. So
Got it.
so I'm going to say maybe that's just not up right now or up yet. But yeah, I thought that was the guy on the video was talking about how he's loved the Hyper Mag and now they have a new Hyper Mag and it allows you for two different gear ratios and all this stuff.
Okay, let's move into rods. Let's just do a quick run through here. I didn't really you really like the new Loomis deal. So you got some new stuff from
Yeah.
13 Fishing.
Let's just look at that 13
from
fishing
Iowa.
stuff for a second.
Okay. You want to start with the Enzo?
I mean, I've sort of looked at, or you're looking at the casting rods.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got the Enzo, they've gone to, on the regular casting rods, it looks like a carbon fiber rear grip. On the crankbait rods, looks like a hybrid EVA cork grip. I think we haven't seen stuff like that in $150 rod price point, so
no, you
13,
haven't.
13 Fishing has always been pretty decent, I think, for their price point, where they fall. I feel like they have a nice fit and finish on most of their rods. Again, then you see the Myth, that's something I know is sort of up here, especially in the north, has gotten to be a bit of a sleeper rod series in the past. And to see them doing some additions to that doesn't surprise me any. But yeah, if we want to get down to the G Loomis stuff, I mean, I've been super impressed with, yes, the price point increase. A lot of guys didn't like that are G Loomis fans on the GLX when they came out with the new GLX last year. But I've been super impressed with that rod. Like, I don't hesitate to fish a GLX versus an NRX ever. I'm really impressed with how good they did there. And, they've sort of upped the ante quite a bit on the IMX Pro series compared to the previous one. Anybody that knows me knows I was definitely not a fan of that series of rods. Even the crankbait ones, I just felt like for the price, for what they were, they could have been much better. I haven't felt these yet. I couldn't even tell you where I have a G Loomis dealer near me anymore. But I am definitely interested in seeing what these things feel like.
So they've got an IMX Pro Bass bladed jig casting rod, a crankbait casting rod, a Pro Bass jerkbait casting rod, lipless, spinnerbait, a swim bait, topwater, and topwater frog. So they're covering almost pretty much every single facet of casting blank that you can cover.
And I will say, out of all of the ones they've made, besides the crankbait, like in the GLX line, you've got some technique specific stuff. But one rod that they've really, in my opinion, failed at in the past, but I'm really excited to see what it feels like, and I will be getting one of these, is the 7.4 extra heavy, extra fast frog rod. I have not had a chance to talk to the sales rep that I know, but I am curious because I know with like the when they redid the GLX, it has the Gen 1 NRX carbon fiber blank. So does this new IMX Pro have the previous generation's GLX graphite blanks material, which would definitely lighten them up quite a bit. Not to mention the change of reel seat away from the same Fuji seat we've used for years to the CI4 Plus reel seat that's basically being used on so much of the Shimano rods and most of the G Loomis rods now. So I'm excited. That's probably one rod. I mean, it's rated 1/2 to 3 ounce. 7'4" is probably the most universal frog rod length. I am a little concerned that it's displayed as an extra heavy, that maybe it's a little too heavy, but that extra fast tip might be everything that you really want it to be. Right now I'm using the GLX Carolina Rig 7.3 heavy as a frog rod, but I definitely feel like that rod doesn't have the midsection bend I'd like out of a frog rod. So I'm definitely curious about that rod. I think it's going to be interesting once you start seeing more reviews and stuff like that coming out about that rod, which we may do a little one here at some point in time in the near future.
Yeah. So everything with this IMX line is all power fishing. There's not a jig rod in here. There's not a worm rod in here. There's not a Carolina rig rod. It's all power fishing. Bladed jig, crankbait, jerkbait, lipless, spinnerbait, swim bait, topwater frog.
What you have to be careful with is some of that stuff was released at the Classic.
Okay.
So it's not listed as ICAST releases.
It's not a new release here, but everything ICAST release was power fishing.
Yep. Yes, because what they did at the Classic, they released the traditional spin jig rod, JWR spinning, JWR casting. They released
the IMX line.
In the IMX line, yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
And then what everybody was like, well, when's this other stuff coming? When's this other stuff coming? Well, here's now when we're seeing it, I was actually surprised too. If you look at the crankbait series, they actually sort of slimmed down their crankbait rod selection. They used to have a quite robust one, but now they have medium and medium heavy, moderate fast in both 7-foot and 7'6" offerings. That's it. They used to have like 6 models, 8 models.
Yeah.
So if you're a high-end crankbait rod guy, I'd be willing to bet G. Loomis has been doing carbon fiber crankbait rods probably as longer than anybody. I think their first one, I don't remember them coming out with that crankbait series that was like that bronzish copper color back in like 2000 or 2001.
They had a spinnerbait rod in that same line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and they did some different stuff. Like, I can tell you at different times, I prefer either the NRX or the GLX bladed jig rod. So how this one compares, because those two are different rods. I mean, they have different powers and different tapers. I fish a chatterbait a lot of times where I'm fishing it as much like a jig as I am anything else. And I appreciate the sensitivity versus a composite. So I think guys that are doing that, especially up in the north here for smallmouth, I think that might be a nice rod that's not, $650. Jerkbait rods, it's so hard to build a jerkbait rod and say, oh, this is the jerkbait rod, because I like something different than you like. And
for sure,
it's just hard. But here they got a lipless crankbait. They got a 7-1 medium heavy fast lipless crankbait rod. So that would technically be a crankbait rod, but it's its own category on here. Spinnerbait, what did they do? So they have 2 now. They have a 6.9 and a 7.3. The 7.3 medium heavy extra fast. I mean, that's probably what most people nowadays are going to buy for a spinnerbait. They're not going to buy a 6.9. Top water, they got 2 different ones, a 6.8 and a 7-foot medium fast and medium heavy fast. So I'm sure that's a softer midsection, but still a fast tip. G. Loomis listens to their pro staff, and they've got a lot of pro staff that aren't just professional anglers on a tour, guides and that type of stuff. And a lot of their sales reps are very, very active anglers. And that's probably one thing that you don't see a lot anymore is a lot of people work in the industry and fish a little or fish a lot and don't work necessarily in the industry. And it seems like the sales reps I know on the side of G. Loomis and Shimano, that they're very active, with guides, and the sales reps are also very active in the fishing.
All right. Let's move on. Spinning rods.
Well, I'm just double checking, make sure there isn't anything else here that we didn't see. Okuma's still out there doing stuff.
Yeah, I saw some Nori's stuff. Super high end $600 rods. Yeah. Nothing that I'm going to be buying.
Yeah, you got the Shimano Poison Glorious. That's another evolution of the Poison series above the Adrena. And St. Croix, I was surprised at St. Croix. Usually St. Croix is pretty hefty in releases at ICAST, and I don't know what they did in the non-bass realm of things, but yeah, they got the new release Triumph, which is about as classic as you can get. Fuji ECSM reel seat that we've seen for years, full cork, nice hourglass shape to the handles. I don't know what their guide trains are going here. What do they got here for guide train? Yeah, it's not even saying on the description page, but they're sort of filling that niche of the old Premier. That's really what you're seeing there.
Exactly.
But yeah, spinning rods.
I'm just trying to get through rods here pretty quick. That way we can get to the juice
honestly,
you and I are interested in.
Yeah, obviously rods, when it comes to spinning, you're going to see it's just a reinforcement of the same stuff that we talked about in casting. So I don't think we need to go in there. Like you can see, like there's there's no, for instance, back to the whole IMX, there's not an IMX listed in the new spinning rods. It's because they're all their IMXs new that for this year were
There,
launched at the Classic.
there is one here, the Strolling, Pro Bass
Oh, is
Strolling.
there?
That was it. Yep.
Yeah.
$450 Strolling rod.
Yeah. 7.2 and 7.4. Medium and medium plus. So
this one's kind of an interesting looking one. Shimano Insurgents. That's a cool looking rod.
It is. I think that's angled more towards inshore. Maybe not. Could be wrong there.
That is a sweet handle, though.
Yeah. And it looks. And there's a wide range. Like, that's probably their most robust. Yeah. Built for inshore fishing application. So you got to be careful there. You know, built for inshore. Light. Well, it says 1/10 to 1/5. That might be more like an ultralight to us in the.
Your ratings are going to be totally skewed.
Yes, exactly. And everything's rated for braid.
I'd like to see them come out with that look in a freshwater line.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever seen a rod that looks like that. That kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Light and Tufts, the Daiwa Light and Tufts.
It's got the color for sure.
Yeah.
You know what? Shimano / G Loomis has done so well with their reel seats in recent years. I mean, they're proprietary reel seats to them, but I mean, you look at this reel seat. This is something that I've gotten really stingy on about my rods when I purchase stuff. You don't realize what you're missing until you feel something like this, where there is no body lines to get pinched against or rub against. Everybody's hand's a different size, and if you can minimalize any high spots or ridges, you know, I think it's a really nice feature on a rod.
One thing I'm going to touch on really quick before we get out of spinning rods, this Shimano Poison Adrena solid tip spinning rod. Daiwa did that a long time ago. I don't remember. It was a titanium tip. I don't remember exactly what the line was called, and I don't remember it doing anything.
That's the thing. I mean, like, I know Denali rods, you know, they have a titanium tip minnow shaking rod, and they're making a big thing about that. And yeah, I mean, I can't say that I remember anybody doing a titanium tip. I remember a titanium core and a tip, but I don't remember a full titanium tip coming out of a carbon fiber blank. I've seen it in ice fishing a bunch of times, but
I've got a rod from North Fork Customs. I built a blank that the specific reason I built it was because of the Megabass Karashi, and it's got an ultra soft tip. I mean, like, I can't even hang that thing on a hook hanger, tighten it up, and, you know, wrap the line around the rod like I normally would, because that tip is like this stored. It is so light, and it casts it unbelievably well for, you know, those tiny little baits. They cast them. It's a BFS blank, but I built it in a spinning rod, and there's a purpose for them, but that's really about it. Is the really ultralight stuff. I don't know if they're trying to sell these things as you know, strolling rods, or I don't know. But
something too that I've seen, I guess I didn't even realize that it was considered a ICAST release, but I've seen a lot of marketing for it. It's TFO, that Resolve series. I've seen a lot of marketing for that lately. It looks, for $190 rod, I mean, it looks dang clean. The C guides or Kernia guides are decent guides, soft touch reel seats, you know, but even like, that's where I get back to, it's like some of this stuff proprietary. But if you look at that rod and you look at that reel seat style versus a Poison Adrena, or, you know, that IMX we talked about, or even a Shimano Zodius, you see how there's transition lines there where the hood doesn't marry to the handle quite flush. That's one thing I'd like to see more companies do. I mean, a lot of these companies are using someone else's reel seat, so I'm not necessarily calling out the company that's building the rod or selling the rod, but the companies making the reel seats can definitely do better in a lot of instances. You know,
For sure.
but all right, let's move on from rods. We
Yeah.
could talk rods
Let's get
forever. So
we're
fishing line.
not going to talk combos because let's get into line.
line. So neither one of us really saw anything that made us go, "Holy cow!" about fluorocarbon. There really wasn't anything in
No,
the fluorocarbon realm that,
a
and I
lot
was
of
actually
leader material.
surprised. That we literally have. Granted, I'm sure there was other stuff launched that we're not seeing here, but Tackle Warehouse to only have 4 launches of fluorocarbon from ICAST. It's like, holy cow, that's unusual compared to the past. I know I mentioned to you this X12 braid from Cast Co. From Cast Fishing Co. I don't that stuff. I don't know. I would have to. I'd have to see how that feels. I'm generally
30,
not.
$35 for 150 yards. Pretty
Yeah,
affordable.
yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely curious on how that feels, and we've talked a lot about my opinion about fluorocarbon around wood and certain types of grass versus braid, and the smoother and smoother we keep making this braid, we might be going in a direction where that conversation is mute, and it's more about what pick count and carrier count of braid you're choosing. So your pick counts how many weaves per inch, and your carrier counts how many strands are weaved together.
For sure.
So 12 carrier versus 8 carrier, I mean, that's 50% more carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's got a high pick count, that stuff might start to feel more like it's like Fireline.
Yeah.
I
do like the color of this J braid, the Ocean Splash, the blue and white. It's a pretty bright blue, but I mean, it's camo enough that I don't know. I'm willing to take a look at it.
Yeah. And I've used the Daiwa J Braid 8 and the Seagar Smackdown 8. Like it's essentially it's the same line from YGK. I do like that stuff for certain things, but generally speaking, I think it's just an okay braid. And it's budget friendly. You see, Suffolk came out with something comparable to that, a caliber 8, same price point. I feel like that's what we've really seen in braid this year is a lot of companies just sort of getting more into that 8 carrier stuff that they maybe weren't before. You got Sunline. I am definitely interested in that Sunline. Obviously, I'm use Sunline a lot, but the Cantan braid or Cantan cast, they have had FX2 for forever. Dean Rojas, like that was his Froggen line. And from what I'm being told is it's discontinued. The FX2 is discontinued. So this is what's replacing it. I am definitely curious to see how I'm going to like that. Now, I've been using the Overwatch and have definitely enjoyed that. I won't say that I like it as much as my SX1, but I mean, it definitely has advantages over SX1.
This is one that I'm kind of intrigued with is Cigar Brawler. It's a mono that is supposed to be a super low stretch. So, I mean, there's situations where, you and I talked about the crankbait episode, how we'll crank with fluoro and sometimes even braid, specifically because mono has a little bit too much stretch in certain situations where you're busting that bait out of grass. There's situations where you really want mono, but I'd like to get this in my hands just to see how the stuff feels and see how stiff it actually is or how low stretch it actually is.
Yeah.
What's the price point on this? $12 to $17. What's a
from ranging from 250 to
Okay.
330
Yeah.
yard spools. So
Depending on line
yeah,
size.
yeah.
So a spool
So
of, let's say, 20 pound, 270 yards of 20 pound is going to cost you $15. That's pretty good.
yeah,
Um,
where I think that brawler might be nice is okay. Now I'm throwing a chatterbait, but I need for whatever reason a stiffer rod and can't use my traditional chatterbait rod or a composite chatterbait rod. You can use that stretch in your line to compensate. Historically, it's always been braid, zero stretch, right?
yep.
Fluorocarbon, 10 to 15, monofilament, 20 to 30% stretch. So, when they say that this line is low stretch for monofilament, is it just it's 20% and it's still going to be more stretch than any fluorocarbon that we use?
Yeah, could be.
Who
That,
knows?
that's why I want to get it in my hands and feel it. Suits, because a lot of these companies claim things and they don't turn out to be exactly what they're claiming, or maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit more stretch, or a little bit less stretch, but not what they're really advertising. You got to get these things in our hands. Kurt and I
Yeah.
haven't seen any of these products in person for the most part, so this is just kind of like an overview of what we see, what we hear, and what we're intrigued with.
Yeah.
But
And
let's see.
I know you're excited about this next product you're going to mention, and I'm just going to cut you off and take your take your boom away. The machine gun cast.
Yeah.
I have so many conversations me and you had about cranking and different things where you were like, man, you got to use that machine gun cast, and you definitely have a different purview of the machine gun cast than I do. Um, you love that stuff. And
Well,
I never could get myself to find where that line made me real happy about it.
the only thing I really, really liked about it was manageability. The stuff
Mm-hmm.
casts like butter,
Mm-hmm.
like absolute butter. And it laid on the reel better than any other line I've ever fished with. This is a new version of it. It's got the PION technology
Yeah.
integrated. So
Which they call Plasma Rise now, hence the big Plasma Rise logo on the box there.
plasma rise. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get it in my hand and see, how it's changed that line. Um, it's definitely stretchy. It's a nylon. Um, it's definitely not nearly as abrasion resistant as most, you know, uh, monofilaments or copolymers that you're going to be using. But as far as castability goes, I guarantee you it's going to be one of the most castable lines you can have.
Well, and with the Plasma Rise technology, what you're going to gain there is slickness on the surface. And to some extent, that slickness on the surface increases your abrasion resistance because it's
Yeah.
not allowing a sharp edge to grab it or bite into it as easily because it just wants to slide over. And it's also going to help you with just casting and how it lays. It is interesting. So it's a brown base with red markings every 5 meters. So it is back to you were talking about camouflage or changing colors. So it's going to have a bit of that.
Hmm.
Um, you look at the picture on there. I don't know if you're bringing that up because I'm sort of talking. Yep, you got it there. Um, you know, you'd be surprised how neutral that type of color is in about every water clarity you fish.
Absolutely.
Um, I am generally not because anytime you add a pigment to the line to discolor it, it weakens it because you're floating a solid into that material, or you're causing something to etch into that material. But honestly, I'd probably rather have that color than about any other color. It always seems like green's either too dark or too light or too blue or this or that and looks visible to
Yeah.
me, where it always seems like some type of brown. Um, Maxima used to make a brown line that was almost coffee colored, and I couldn't believe in how much water clarities that would disappear being brown, even if the water was greenish colored. So,
Yeah. Looking at
yeah.
it here on the computer screen or even in person, you're like, the only color that's going to match is like a tannic or, that real
Mm-hmm.
tea colored water. It's not true. It blends
Yeah.
into almost every watercolor that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I used to fish a little bit of that brown stuff that Maxima used to make when I was a
Yeah.
Maxima guy.
Yeah.
As far as line goes, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
There's not a
not a
whole
lot to
lot of
go
new
through
stuff.
there.
There's not.
So
Let's get into the dice stuff. It's
I'm going to
all
let
pretty
you,
much
you you know the dice and urchins better than I do, so I'm going to let you talk because there's one thing in that category that I do want to talk about for sure.
yeah.
Well, there's two baits. One of them's not actually listed on this page.
Which one's that?
Well, I did not come
Oh,
across
the
still the
Crush
Crush City
City.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't see it there.
the CEO. So I'm going to see
I'll
if
just
I
go
can.
through these really quick while you're bringing that up. You got your Strike King tumbleweeds. They came out with a new size, the Magnum. They put salt in one of them. That deal is it's pretty much smallmouth. You know, your jig skirt material through the cube or the whatever you want to call that. I don't even know it's a dice. It's not really a dice.
Mm-hmm.
Bass Mooch Gumball, Big Bite, Orbix. It's all pretty much just knockoffs of existing stuff. You got your G-Rat baits, Papa Web with the little feet coming off the legs.
Mm-hmm.
G-Crack Magnum Q Bomb. The thing is giant. It doesn't have your TPE legs. It's got something else. I don't know what is it. It's
When I
some
see
kind of
pictures
rubber.
of it, it looked to me it looks like a thick strand and
Silicone.
wider silicone material is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it's silicone. Koiki Micros and Koiki Mini. Those will definitely be a smallmouth player. Um,
So
Dumbbell
here's
crab.
speaking of this, and this is something that we're going to talk about down the road, but man, I can't believe the amount of calls that I've gotten from people going, "What's the deal with the urchin? Why can't I catch smallmouth on it?"
Well,
I have gotten
I
so
don't.
much communication from the Great Lakes in northern Wisconsin, northern Michigan, and Minnesota, where guys are just really struggling. Like they get small enough, and then it's like a dice bait, but to try to fish it like they are down south, and even our largemouth here, like it definitely works at the right time. But it's I don't know. It's just I've got some guys that are really, really good anglers that are just like, man, this thing just isn't working as well as it was hyped up to be. And I mean, I think some of that's perspective, right? Like we hear about it being really good,
Mhm.
but we don't hear about how many guys down south are not catching them on it or it's not working at certain times.
Well, I'm going out in 2 months. I'm going to Mead, and I'm going to be playing around with it out there for smallmouth. And
Yeah,
I'm going to be targeting largemouth for the most part with it, but
yeah.
we're going to be around enough smallies that I'll have some kind of a not full answer, but an
Yeah.
idea
I will.
of
I
how to
will
talk about
say
that topic.
we had our bluegill spawn here, and we had our fish staying pretty shallow and chasing bait around, and there was a lot of balls of bait
Mhm.
or fry, and it was working really good. Right now, with on the lakes that the fish have pulled off the bank, it don't seem to work when you weight it heavier to get it down. You've
It
got to be
doesn't.
patient with it. You've got to be super patient with it and just let it slow sink down. But it doesn't. Those fish that are offshore, if I just don't know if they're not keyed into that bait profile, whether that's because they think it's fry or what. It seems like it was a pretty short window this year.
Yeah.
But I think that inherently, like in the South, that fry ball, shallow water fishing lasts for 4 months, and here it's like for a month, month and a half. Could just be
Mhm.
that. I will say the big baits Orbix, one of them for $6.99. I mean, it is very interesting to see with someone come out with a 19 millimeter. I believe that is yes, it is TPE.
Hmm.
$7 for one.
Yeah,
I mean, I got a feeling that they're going to have a hard time keeping that thing in stock.
for sure. So
Um,
here, let me go down to, we're talking about price right now. Let me go back down to the bait that I was going to bring
yeah,
up here in a second. The Hide Up Quakey Straight.
yeah,
This bait I can see absolutely crushing them on a Carolina rig.
mm-hmm,
It's similar enough to some of the stuff that I throw on a Carolina rig in certain situations. But with the wiggly legs, as you pull that thing, those legs are just going to do
mm-hmm,
this the whole way.
yeah,
I can see it really catching fish, but look at the price on it.
yeah,
That's for one bait.
mm-hmm,
How are they charging $18 when Big Bite is making a bait with pretty much the same exact amount of material for $6?
uh-huh.
I mean, to me, it's crazy
Because they can.
because it can, because of the name.
Yeah.
But
And there's a lot more people involved. You know, Hide Up, I think, is a smaller company that's not doing such huge, large
yeah,
quantities, you know. And Hide Up's either making it themselves or paying someone else to make it. And they're selling it to a distributor in the United States. So the
mhm,
distributor needs to make money.
true.
The Hide Up's got to make money, you know, and that's gonna cause the price to be a little higher. Um,
Excise tax.
yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of fingers in that cookie jar. I will say what I was really interested in, just because I think, you know, I told you this. Sometimes ICAST for me is more about seeing what other people do and how far they're willing to think outside the box. You know, when you start talking about Mr. Mike Iaconelli, you know there's going to be a lot of outside the box thinking,
Mhm.
and and whatever his relationship with John is over at Missile, like John definitely seems to let him and be support those outside the box ideas, and this is one of them, the Missile dice jig. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up right now, right there.
I mean, who knows? I don't know, you don't know, but talk about an ingenious idea. um the only thing is, I'm gonna say, put a weed guard on it. Can you put a weed guard on it?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they can. That is something, and a lot of people have talked about it. I've seen the videos. I'm sure lots of people have seen the videos of, the old puffball jigs. Remember the old skinny bear puffball footballs where they basically looked
yep,
like an actual koosh ball? Well,
yep.
this is sort of that in a weightless design. So I'm going to be curious to see how much more we see of this style of bait and what other options there are, because living rubber is really just, I mean, it's essentially the cord out of the, spandex in your, in your boxers. Like,
Yeah.
they make a lot of different sizes of living rubber. So, there could be some different options when you start playing with some heavier living rubber to make this thing even more and more like a traditional soft plastic or TPE urchin. And then I think it's just going to boil down to what actually. I know some people that say, well, it really matters how fast or responsive that urchin, that plastic is. Sometimes they say, oh, soft plastic in a right formula is better. Some say, well, TPE, if it's too soft, it ain't right. And if it's too stiff, it isn't right. So it's going to be interesting on the evolution of this bait. But I also think as a whole, we're going to see a lot of these baits go away in the next 2 to 3 years. A lot of these new models and knockoffs are going to go away. And I don't think an urchin is going to be what a Yamamoto Senko is in 3 to 4 years. I think it's just going
No.
to be. I think once some fish get conditioned to it, I mean, that's how it is in Japan. Like, they can't hardly give them away in Japan, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. It
Stuff's been
sat on
around for
shelves for 20
forever.
years.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, last year you couldn't sell a full cast urchin, and this year you can't buy one because they're out of stock
Yeah.
everywhere. So.
So before we move on from the whole dice thing really quick, I'm going to pull up something that you wanted to talk about. Let's
Mhm.
see. Oh, it's not. Hold on one second. Let me.
You want me to add it?
I just got to figure out how to add it because I have it. It's on another tab, but that tab is not showing.
I'll put it up.
Okay, go ahead and put it up. Oh, there it is. I got it.
You got it?
Tato. This is the one thing that you and I were both really surprised about in ICAST is how limited the rigging the rigging techniques or the rigging styles. We thought there was going to be hundreds of them. I thought that. You know, with everything that we saw coming out with frog hooks and single hooks and treble hook rigs, and you know, it was endless on social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. You saw it everywhere. And there's two on the ICAST on the terminal tackle stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these that we've seen come out are from other companies. That we're not at ICAST, so I'm sure if you go and look through Tackle Warehouse and look at all the different rigging potentials that there's a lot. But yeah, ICAST releases from some of these big brands, and some of these big brands they're extremely slow with product development, and some of them are extremely quick. I think you're going to see in the coming, probably for the Classic, you're probably going to see a lot more of this type of stuff. Thinking about everybody I know in the industry that designs tackle is working on something. So it'll be interesting to see what comes around for the Classic. I know I'm drawing one right now. You know, I'm really, really surprised though that we didn't see more. I thought that would have been something that most of these bigger brands would have expedited into production and at least had proof of concept or something out there just to be the first one. But honestly, it's gotten, I mean, there's a product, and we're not going to talk about it, but I showed you earlier. I designed a bait 4 months ago that at ICAST, an almost identical bait. And the people involved with it were not people that I know, or the people I worked with do not know the people that built this one. And it is, for all intents and purposes, identical. And that reason right there is why a lot of people aren't going to, until you can sell it, and soon as you're able to sell it, it gets launched. You know, back to that whole,
somebody will make it be quicker, make it and release it quicker than you can get it out yourself, even though you already have prototypes.
I've seen it so many times. Sales reps want to be buddies with their dealers. I'll show you this item that's coming out. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
That store owner or that sales rep will show the wrong person or tell the wrong person. And next thing you know, another company has it come out, is what a lot of people think. I personally think more times than not, products we all get told the same stuff. You know, the guy that called me up when I owned Dirty Jigs and say, you need to build this to do this, 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 and that. Well, that guy's buddy or tournament partner or traveling partner is saying the same stuff to his staffers or to his sponsors. Mm-hmm. Or that guy doesn't get listened to because he's just an average angler. So when he calls Missile Jigs after he talks to me because he's ordering some Ike's Mini flipping jigs, he's telling those guys over there the same thing he just got done telling me. You know, it's a small community and stuff gets spread around pretty quick. And a lot of times I think it's more innocent than intentional. But, you know, unfortunately, like I guarantee you, you know, Josh is a good friend of mine. This hook right here that's on the screen, it will get copied. Yeah, it's going to get copied for sure. Maybe a slightly different with different hook or this or that. I've used this. We talked about it when Canterbury was on here. I've been really happy with how this performs, especially being a cover fisherman. But yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more stuff like this at the Classic. Whether it's
this is a really good design. Mm-hmm. I have always really liked the single hook design with the Koike style bait. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that I know that are throwing the treble. They really like the treble. I don't like the idea of a treble. When you're fishing a soft plastic bait, for the most part, I like a single hook. It's just less force. With a treble hook, if you get both of those points up against a fish's skin, you have to drive both of those points in. And if you're not throwing straight braid, you will have hookup issues with that. Same thing
That's
with a treble. Your
that's
treble frog or the frog hook is same deal. I
I've
want a
had
single
probably
point to drive.
I've had probably 5 different people talk to me about losing fish on the urchin and this and that, and that's a common thing. And I don't
Yeah.
have a foolproof solution for most people, but I will tell you, most of those people that I talk to that are like, man, I'm only hooking 1 out of 3, they're all still fishing it like it's a finesse bait.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to throw this thing on like a mag 7.1 medium heavy or 7.3 medium heavy, like, or a soft heavy, like this braid or straight floor car. I don't care how you're doing it, but you know, a lot of these guys are throwing it now. They find that the best hookup ratio for them has been the frog hook system, which I've played with, and it's all right, but it's not weedless. This is weedless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it for the dice stuff, right?
Yep. Let's move on. I'm just going to do a quick. I don't think we really saw anything in the bait fish and minnow stuff that really stood out.
No, I mean, I guess
the Avatar is. I've seen some videos on that thing. Kind of cool looking swim, but I don't know.
It's a unique action, and it very well may work simply. Roboworm's got a minnow. I've seen some footage of that in the water. That looked pretty good in the water. One thing I mentioned to you,
in the freeloader.
Yeah, and the mooch minnow. They're definitely in the mooch minnow pushing into that walleye market. That's why you're seeing a lot of them colors that you're seeing. Those are traditional walleye colors.
Yep. There you go. Fire flame, green perch.
Yeah. One thing I thought, and I was excited for a second, and I was telling you, I'm like, oh, look at this, the Rapala Crush City fry ball. I was so disappointed when I seen that was only 2 inches. I was like, man, that might be really cool in like a 3.5 inch bait for bass fishing, you know. Just different action, you know, something the fish haven't seen before, but yeah, only a 2 inch. You know, Storm seems like, okay, we're going to get into the whole Gobius or the what's that little swimmer from Megabass? Yeah. The little yeah, you know.
Dark Sleeper.
Dark Sleeper, you know, it looks like that's probably along that line for that, you know, 2.5 inches. Probably also another thing too that they're thinking a little more towards the walleye market with how big scoping's been there.
Yep.
But yeah, just a lot of just expansion on existing minnow baits is what we're seeing in that category. And unfortunately for that category, there's just only so much you can do.
Exactly. Everyone's got it 5 minnows.
You know, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or before the podcast, but one of the guests that we've had on said, you know, this jig head and minnow thing, if that's the way that the industry goes, it's just going to be a race to the bottom. Who can make the best thing the cheapest? And that's where we're going to end up.
Okay, let's get into worms, crawls, creatures.
You know, worms, I'm not a finesse worm guy, so you know, you'd have to tell me if you like anything there in the finesse worm, straight tail worm section.
Nothing really caught my attention. I know this one here did for you, the knucklebug.
Yeah. Well, just before we get on to that, though, like you see in the curly tail worms, which is such an underutilized bait at this point in bass fishing, but you know, the 7.5 and 10 inch, that's just so reminiscent to me of the old Mr. Twister, you know, curly tail worms that were such staples back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, I don't even think Mr. Twister's still up and going.
Do you know remember the Phenom?
Yeah.
I still got a 3,700 box of the Phenoms, and I'm not throwing them away. Because there's a situation where they might work. I mean, it might make a difference.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited about the Crush City Knucklebug. I've been, you know, for a year and a half been hoping and been voicing my opinion with people that I think could maybe move the needle on it and get something done. I've wanted to see them have a bit of a beaver-ish bait, something with a little bit wider profile. I'm a big, there's always 2 sweet beavers rigged up when I'm going anywhere flipping. So I really just thought that was something missing out of that product line. And this one, it's going to have it's a little more flap, it's a little more flappy version versus a sweet beaver. So it's not going to replace it for me, but I prefer something like this versus like a craw bait. Like their craw is pretty good. But I don't like the profile to me. To me, that looks like the profile is just, it's narrow and then it's wide. And that, I like to have side appendages. I like something that creates that shape. So excited about that. I know some people have brought up that they're excited about that Velo craw from Big Bite Baits. That's been mentioned to me a handful of times. That Bellow Shad Swimmer, I don't know what size. Oh, that's big. Holy cow. I just noticed it. I was like, I wonder what that's going to be like.
Yeah, that's a big bait.
One bait that you don't see on here because they just added it to. I'm going to see if I can find it here. I'm going to try to throw it up here. There is a bait. Let's see here. If you want to throw that up, Adam.
Go ahead.
This bait you can see there, 3.25 inch size. I have caught so many fish, and many other people I know around the country have caught so many fish on this bait. And I know a handful of guys that are using their origin bait to this one. That's a Japanese bait in a smaller size. The 4-inch is a big piece of meat.
He's talking about the Crush City Bronco bug with the Doe Live Beaver is the original out of Japan.
Yeah. I am really happy that I got the 3.25 size. There's so many ways that I'm going to utilize that. I mean, you think about where you fish with me flipping for smallmouth. Imagine using that bait for that circumstance. Like that's perfect because the 4-inchers, not that it doesn't catch some fish in those circumstances, but it's a little big. It's a big piece of meat.
Yep.
I mean that bait is so heavy on its own without a weight that if I flip it on a 1/2 ounce, I have to use my jig sticks, not my normal Texas rig sticks, just because it's just that much that you're pitching around. So that's a line addition that they released at ICAST this year. That's probably, for me, if I had to pick one thing that I'm most excited about, it's this bait right here in a 3.25 inch size. All right, what do you got next, buddy?
All right. Let's see here. I'm just going to finish going down this list here. I don't think there was anything else. Oh, the Helicanth. So
yes, you want to talk about
the Helicanth. Yeah, the Helicanth is not a new bait for ICAST, but they did come out with a 5.8 inch size. If you are a Texas rig, drop shotter, deep water, semi-finesse fisherman, and you like to free rig, if you're not throwing a Helicanth, you better start. It is a legit bait. The way that this thing moves in the water is pretty unreal. And now they came out with a 5.8 inch size. So, you got decent sized bluegill in your waters and your fish are mowing down bluegill and you need to slow down and fish for those fish, whether they're in brush or whatever. This thing is a legit bait. You're probably going to see a Bassmaster Tournament 1 on this thing in the pretty near future. There's already been some pros talking about it, and it's a fish catcher.
Now on that bait, are you Are you rigging it flat or are you rigging it vertical on like if you're Texas rig drop shotting it?
I am free rigging it, so it's a Texas rig,
Yeah.
basically with
Huh.
the drop shot style hook.
Yeah.
But I am rigging it flat.
Okay.
I'm not rigging it for a vertical.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is a TPE plastic. So
Okay.
I like to put, the fatter, like bobber stop style bait button or whatever you want to call it. I
Mhm.
slide that on the tip of the hook all the way up after I put this bait on, and it keeps that head from sliding down on
Mhm.
on a EWG style hook. That really, really helps. But I've caught quite a few fish on that bait, and I'm excited to see the bigger size for sure. Roboworm came out with some new colors. That pink lemonade one's it's pretty crazy looking.
That's a light you up one.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of like the Yamamoto baby bass color. I throw the thin Senko and the Senko in the baby bass pattern a lot.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of cool that Robo partnered up with them and came out with that. Um, Otherwise, just this one's kind of cool. Net bait fuel finicky prop shot worm. It's a 15-inch. Basically, I'm looking at it as kind of a Nico style worm.
Yep.
I forget what company it was that came out with like a 12 or 15-inch. It was kind of segmented. It didn't have this little prop, if you want to call it that, on the tail. It was a
Mhm.
Japanese worm, and I think they were drop shotting it. But this is a pretty cool idea
Yeah, I've
for
seen some
a.
underwater footage of that, and it looks really like it really moves a lot underwater.
It does. For if you want to call it a finessey approach, that it's different approach with a big long bait like that. It's not a big bait; it's a long bait.
Mhm.
They'll have a 12-inch fish will have no problem getting that whole thing in their mouth.
You know, the amount of fish you catch on a 10-inch power worm that's probably twice the diameter of that and almost as long.
Exactly. Exactly. Back to your Bronco bugs. Let's keep on going. Scented jerk shads. That's about it for that category. So let's move
Mhm.
on to swim baits. There's a couple in here that I'm intrigued with. Um, this one was an award winner, best freshwater hard lure. To me, there's nothing all that special about it. There's a lot of 3-piece bluegills out there just like
Mhm.
this. Something about the eyes had UV resin or something like that in it to make the eyes glow. But the one glide bait that kind of stood out to me is the Rapala Strida 180.
Mhm.
And the reason why they don't have a second tab for some reason, I don't know why, but right, if you're looking at the screen right here where you have that void in the belly, I'm going to go back really quick to accessories because in accessories is the weight. Where'd it go? There it is. This right here, Rapala screwdriver system. This weight screws into that swim bait, and they make it in an eighth, 3/16, quarter, and a 3/8 ounce. And it is a tungsten screw
Mhm.
that actually screws into the belly of that bait, as well as their soft paddle tail version.
Yep.
So you have the PXR Strida from Rapala, and let me get down to Rapala Crush City Governor. That weight screws into the belly of this bait as well. So you can add weight and subtract weight pretty quickly with that. It's a pretty original idea. Um, the one that do you remember True Tungsten swim baits when they came out?
I don't remember enough about them to other than that they had them. To be honest.
So True Tungsten, Hiroshi Nishine was the one that actually carved those swim baits when True Tungsten first came out with them. And he designed them with a pocket in the middle. It was basically drilled out, maybe a quarter-inch drill bit or whatever. You could fit a
Mhm.
quarter-inch drill bit in there. And they had tungsten balls inside.
Yeah.
And you could pull a pin off the top of the bait, separate the bait, take balls out or add balls for a weighting system. You put the thing back together, put your pin
Mhm.
back through, and that was your weighting.
Mhm.
This is the same idea, except for that it's a single screw. You just screw the thing right
Mhm.
up inside. That's pretty cool. It's a good shaped bait. I like the look of the bait shape. It looks like it's going to swim pretty well. Um,
I mean, let's be honest. At
but
$58.99, $60 bait,
yeah,
it better work pretty good.
well,
From a big brand like that, like when you start dealing with these hand carved baits and everything from your custom bait makers, like that's what you expect. But this is also a mass produced bait that,
with
yeah,
your custom bait makers, you're getting into the $100 and $200 or more.
right, yeah,
So honestly, $58 is fairly affordable. Um,
mhm. Well,
you'd like it
and
to be a little
let's
bit less with
let's use the
ABS, but
inexpensive, not affordable.
okay, inexpensive. I agree.
Relatively speaking,
Um,
inexpensive.
yeah. This Shimano
But,
Facer is a pretty intriguing one too. You can change out lips to it. You can change out the tail. That's a pretty cool. Yeah, there's your three different
yeah,
lips. You got two different tails that you can change out on it.
yeah.
And when you change out lips and tails on baits, it makes them completely different baits. So basically, you're getting what 15 baits in one right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Pretty much, it'll do a completely different thing underwater.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because what you're not seeing, if you don't really pay attention, is one of them tails is a horizontal tail and one's a vertical tail. So even
let's
if they
go
were
back.
shaped even if they were shaped the same, they're going to do drastically different things because one's
Exactly.
horizontal and one's vertical.
Yep.
Um, yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, here's the thing, though. That bait, they got two colors listed currently. I'm not saying that they are not going to have more later, but
Yeah.
and that's a small. That's 85. That's a small bait. That is
Hmm.
so.
It's a cool looking bait. I like the shape of it. It looks like it's going to swim pretty well. I'd like to see it, with all the different combos, what they do. But
Yeah.
a lot of it depends on how it's weighted. Weighting is everything in those types of baits.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. I don't think there was anything else here that really caught my attention. You got a different size of mare, the little mare from Crush
Mm-hmm.
City. Um, just more paddle tails for the most part. So let's get out of swim baits. There really wasn't much in crankbaits either from what we saw.
No,
Nothing that really caught our eye.
no. Um,
You got your Bill Lewis brush crank that's looks like a DD14 with
or
some
deep,
wings on it,
yeah, or deep little
or
N.
deep little N.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, Yozuri expanding their rattle and vibe lipless crankbait, that bait's been through two different discontinuings, and then couldn't get them, and people were clamoring for them, and then they brought them back, and obviously seeing a lot more ghost colors and sizes in there. That's been such a staple bait for a long time that a lot of people don't talk about. Um,
mhm.
you and I have talked about,
Here's the
the
Rapala
Rapala
snare.
snare. I don't have a
Yep.
lot of experience with it. I was looking at just the weighting, the plate in the belly. That's not your traditional type sound. I'm sure it's probably a louder, more clacky sound somewhere in between. But I know, it's one of those things where I feel like Rapala in the last few years have started to do a little more of not as much their own thing all the time, but trying to fill some niches for people to be loyal to the brand and use some more traditional product designs. And I think it's good that you see that. I mean, at some point in time, you've got to do that. A lot of people say it's just knocking stuff off, but You know, when you're a brand and everybody's telling you all the time, like, you need a bait that does this, you need a bait that does this, and it's because someone else's bait does that. At some point in time, you've got to, as a brand, you got to listen to those people and provide them the product that they're asking for. And I think that's why you sort of see what everybody calls knockoff stuff, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
Dirty Jig's guppy head wasn't the first little jig head like that. There was the Bass Tactics head, Smeltinator head, which is now a Northland product, and then the guppy head. I mean, and those two baits were the deal in that stuff for a long, long time. And now anybody and everybody has got to have one, because, and sometimes it's just a matter of your pro staff is saying, if you don't get me this product type, I'm going to use somebody else's.
Yeah.
You know, so.
All right, let's get into jerk baits. You've got one that you're excited about.
Yes. Jerk baits, you know, I've heard this year a lot, because this year was a really good spring for jerk bait fishing here. And I heard a lot from people talking to me about the Maverick series from Rapala. And, you know, I looked into it a little bit and I'm like, man, this thing looks so much like a Slender 97 or Slender 112 from Lucky Craft that are really, really hard to get anymore. The 97 is completely discontinued, has been for a while. Well, I see.
I've got a bunch of them.
Yeah, you can please send me yours.
Nope, not happening.
Well, you know, there's only one color I really need, and you probably don't even have that one. But Maverick 97, I mean, that just, without putting my hands on that bait, like, that just tells me that somebody is saying, this bait's no longer available. Like, why did they do 97? Not 95, not 100, not 90, 97.
Mm-hmm.
So, from what I've been told, if anybody listening is a Slender Pointer fan, that PXR Maverick from Rapala, and they make a deeper diving version. If you scroll down, Adam, you'll see you got the 110 deep. You know, their color selection is pretty solid. Definitely more bait fishy, transparent. But, you know, hot blue frost, that's your elegee bone type of color. You know, metallic moss black shiner, just sort of that natural, you know, northern fishery shiner color. Just snow white, which is so good so many places. Pro blue. I mean, I really think out of all the jerk baits, and Rapala's done a lot of jerk baits over the years, I think this one sort of, again, streamlines in line with so many of the jerk baits we're already all throwing.
Yeah, it's just it's another version of one of the best jerk baits ever made.
I mean, that's one thing I'll say, is that Lucky Craft really was the company that put suspending jerk baits on the map.
Yep.
And the original ones are still, in my opinion, the best. Pointer 100 and a Slender Pointer. What I can say about those two baits that I don't see out of more modern jerk baits, and that's going to be the first critique that I'm going to have to this then, is they float or suspend horizontal.
Yeah.
And they suspend at a much colder temperature. So my first jerk baits every year are of Lucky Craft, because they suspend at colder temperatures. They don't float. A Vision 110 at 48 degrees floats like a pencil bobber. And that defeats the purpose, where a Slender Pointer or Pointer 100 floats or suspends horizontal. And if anything, you get in that 52 degree realm and they start to slow sink, which allows you to keep it down there. And a lot of times your fish with surface temperature 52 degrees, they're not overly active. That bait needs to be in their face. So there, my shot across the bow to the jerkbait manufacturers: make these things suspend at temperatures colder than 58, because that seems to be 58 to 62 is where you really start seeing, a lot of these other jerk baits start to suspend properly and not float like pencil bobbers. But yeah, I'm excited that somebody did another version. But again, I haven't thrown this one yet. I'm curious exactly what the action is like. The bill looks the same to me as on that slender pointer, where it's more of a straight and then round, not a triangle
Very
shape
similar.
like a 110. But yeah, it's going to be okay. What temperature of water is this suspending in, and how much dart does it have? The Slender 97 doesn't have a lot of dart.
No.
Or the 112, and I don't need it to dart real erratic,
All right. Let's get
jerk
into
baits,
top water.
I think that's about it. Yeah, top water.
It's not a ton here that I'm all that excited about. You talked about this one, the Rapala joystick. Basically, Super Spook.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. There's you got a spook kit right, just kitty corner above it. Like that's pretty much what that looks like.
There's a kit there.
Yeah, I am excited. Rapala always makes really durable baits when it comes to non-balsa baits. They for years they had the Skitter Walk. I always liked that bait, but because it was short and bulky, but it was missing the true longer version. Like they needed one the same diameter but longer. And they have this joystick in 2 different sizes. They got the colors right. I mean, Rapala's got the most now. Go ahead.
I will be buying this bait right here for the U.S. Open. That chrome bone.
Yeah.
That to me, that is a badass color. It's that chrome color. The bone color has always caught fish, but to add that little bit of flash with the chrome on the side as it tips, that's a really cool color.
That is. I didn't even notice that when I was looking at it.
They used to make a saltwater bone in the Super Spook, and it's not the same. They still make it, but it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be a much lighter bone. Now it's much more yellow. Yeah. This is almost just like that old chrome or the saltwater bone that Hedden used to make.
Yeah.
That's a cool color. I like that.
Yeah. Like here, oaky bone, that color oaky bone. I don't know. I mean, they've had it in a Super Spook. They've had it in the Reaction Innovations Vixen. It was always such a good color here. I'll definitely be getting some of them and the IU. But yeah, I didn't even notice that chrome bone. I will definitely be looking at that one because you're 100% right. I got some fisheries where that's going to be. There's that transition to matte because essentially that's what bone does. It doesn't flash. Yep. Transition from matte to flash to matte to flash definitely might be pretty unique.
Yep.
Let me go down to the ploppers. You don't hear, because it was released earlier, but you've got a Rapala plopper that Jacob Wheeler did, and I really like the sound of it. It has more of that knocking buzzbait sound. So I'm definitely a fan of that one. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got a plopper now, and you sure people keep making them, but you sure don't hear them talked about like they used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
You start talking about some frogs. Go ahead.
Well, this one here, this trick crawler is kind of intriguing. I can see that being like if you're fishing night tournaments. You want to see how big it is.
I bet you
it's taking a second to load. There we go. Again, matte black with that shine. Same idea that we were talking about. It's a 6-inch bait, but I mean, for night fishing, something where you want to create a lot of disturbance, it's a pretty cool looking bait.
Yeah.
It's going to move a lot of water.
When it comes to nighttime fishing and top water, like I'm not afraid of bigger,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that might not be something that here I'm going to throw during the day, but you know what? I always feel that topwater, you a lot of times if you feel like they're coming up and rolling on a bait and they're not committing to it, and guys will say, well, it should go smaller. Man, I just with topwater, it seems like you should go bigger,
I agree.
you know.
It seems like
Um,
when you're throwing a bigger bait, if they're going to come up and eat it, they're going to try and crush the thing hard. They're
yeah.
going to kill it because they know they
Mhm.
have to.
Mhm.
This one's kind of interesting. I know you don't throw a lot of prop baits, but prop frog.
No, I am interested in that because here especially we get a lot of places where when our when our bluegill beds are going on, like there's vegetation, there's emergent vegetation. So throwing your traditional
Yeah.
bluegill bed prop bait that we've seen, win so many tournaments, just isn't the deal here because weeds, just welcome to
Mm-hmm.
the north, weeds. So no, that is something, and what's his name over there at Spro? I know he's pretty excited about something that he's had on his brain for a while and finally seeing it come out. The it's weighted, uniquely positioned. Yeah, I mean, it's going to open up the doors to being able to throw stuff places that, if nothing else, yeah, a pro angler might be willing to roll cast a little, balsa double prop bait into an area and know that he's not going to land in a tree. The average guy might not ever make that cast because he doesn't want to lose his, Brian's Bees prop bait in there. Well,
Exactly.
this you're not going to. If you get it in a tree, it's not a big deal. You're going to reel it back out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually, because this is a bait that's sort of a sleeper that's talked about. A lot of people I know that are not sponsored by Spro is that flapping frog. I do know on the original first run of the original size one, they had some weighting issues with the weight would cast out of it. They've, from what I've been told, have corrected that. But to have one that's just a smidgen smaller, I'm excited for because I know I could catch some pretty big smallmouth on the original one, but to have this smaller one, I'm pretty excited about. And if you look at the underside picture of that bait, especially the weight is actually on the shank of the hook.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that hook on its own, if you bought some of these and didn't like the frog or wreck the frog, keep the hook for your urchins.
Yeah.
pro
Exactly.
tip of the day. So yeah, excited about that little bit. Because they have it in a 65 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
This is the other one that I hadn't remembered any frogs with the whole jitterbug lip on it, but you
yeah,
said that it's been done a couple times. I don't really remember them.
yeah,
Cool idea.
yeah,
Jitterbugs
yeah.
always caught
Snag,
fish.
and you just look at that screen there. I mean, Snag Proof is really doing, like, they are pushing it like, we got a pop and rambler, which is more your traditional pop and frog. Now we got a zoo pop, which is more like your, traditional pop R style bait. Now we got a zoo wag. They Snag Proof had done so much of that stuff in the past, but with the new painting system and the guys they got over there drawing these things, they're modernized it. They have a newer, fresher look to them. They're taking
Mm-hmm.
some ideas from traditional hard topwater baits and making soft weedless topwater baits. And if you don't know, like Snag Proof and Scumfrog, which were our traditional, those were the two frog brands for forever, right? They're both under one roof and they're doing some different stuff out there. Yeah, they may not look as cool as some of the Japanese baits and everything. They might look a little more rounded and not have the sharp edges on it, but they're making some good stuff over there. That's all under that
They've
same
always,
umbrella with net bait as well.
yeah, they've always caught fish.
Mm-hmm.
Buzz baits. You want to talk a
So
little bit about
before,
the buzz
I
wagon?
know we're forgetting a frog.
Oh, that's right. Do you have that brought up, Swampboard
I
Junior?
Yes, I can bring it up if you would like me to.
Because we don't have it here on Tackle Warehouse.
It is on Tackle Warehouse. It's just not a
Well, not on the
ICAST
ICAST
release.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me bring it up. So yeah, Swamp Lord Jr. The original Swamp Lord and the popping version, like a lot of people talk about it. It seems to. I mean, I don't know anybody that said anything bad about it. But yeah, excited that this bait. It's 2.25 inches long. It's a little bit bulkier than a Spro Bronzeye Junior from what I've seen. It is definitely bait that I'm going to pick up a few. You can nice thing is you can see here you can order them now. They're in stock. Especially in my more open water conditions or pocket fishing, not full on mats. A lot of times that Spro Juniors like always tied on. Like I would almost always have one on a frog rod, and
Yeah.
so I am excited about that just because it does have a little more bulk to it. And you can see, like a lot of people may not like this, but see how curved in them hook points are against that body
Yep.
because that body's so wide. You can always bend a hook out, but I'll tell you what, if you grab a frog, and I've got some frogs I like for open water, but I cannot throw them on our scummy mats here because that hook point, instead of being there, is way out here on the edge. Yeah, it helps your hookup ratio, but it also hooks everything else.
Exactly.
And, you know, so yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I was actually just going to add some of those the chrome bone spooks from Rapala, the
Yeah.
joystick.
Yeah.
They're not available yet.
Oh, I don't, yeah,
Just a
Rapala
bummer.
stuff won't be available till fall, I think, as in
Yeah. I
general.
won't have them for that tournament.
Yeah.
That sucks. Guess I'm gonna have my custom painter paint some of those up in some spooks because I got some spook blanks.
Yeah. All you need is some chrome ones.
Yep. All right. What else do we have?
All
Let's
right.
talk
Well,
about the
down
buzz
to,
wagon.
yeah. Hopefully here in the new
John.
Yeah, hopefully here in the near future. We've been trying to get John on here, but traveling for tournaments and all that stuff. Want him to talk about the new baits. As soon as he's like, well, I'm really busy getting the ICAST and everything, and then traveling, and I'm like, well, let's just wait a little bit and wait till after ICAST, and you can talk about the new ICAST baits. And this was already out at the time, so I told him like, I want you to talk about the Buzz Wagon because that thing's really got me. Like, I'm really interested in that bait. Because I am a buzzbait junkie. 5/16 of an ounce. And
what are you most interested in with this bait?
One, I'm curious on the blade size as much as anything, and I have talked to him, and he told me what size is actually on there. So I got to get it in my hand and I throw that Canterbury Pro Buzz in 1/4 ounce quite a bit, skipping. Now, this is a 5/16 ounce buzz bait, which if I'm throwing a skirted buzz bait, I throw one of the two versions of the Jacob Wheeler accent buzz bait that's 5/16 of an ounce. Hook's really good. The shape of the head to glue a toad on it, I think is going to be really good. I think it's going to fit this buzz bait well. But the fact that I really like the sound when I was watching the videos and seeing how they did their clacking, that's what really intrigues me. And I'm a bait tinkerer, so for me to just pop that rivet off and put a smaller blade on there to meet some other, demands I have when I want a smaller blade. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's really well thought out and well built buzzbait.
What do you think about the cone in front of the blade?
I don't know. I don't know if it does much of anything. I mean, it should shed weeds a little better.
Yeah, because as you know, I make my own buzz baits, and it's pretty much I don't want to say pretty much the only buzz bait I throw, but when I'm picking up a buzz bait, it's the first one I grab, and that's one thing I've started doing. I found some brass nose cones to go in front of the the blade like that to shed a little bit of that grass.
Yeah.
And I really haven't thrown it a lot with that nose cone, but I'm interested to see how it acts and how much better it gets through that stuff without picking up that stringy stuff we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Eelgrass and the little scum around duckweed always is a pain in the butt on your bead.
Yep.
I've thrown a lot of different options when it comes to in front of buzzbait blade, and I don't know. It's just yes, it probably I'm sure it limits it, especially with eelgrass and stuff. But I don't know. I've seen plastic. I've got buzzbaits that I'd love that are discontinued that have plastic ovals in front of them. I will say, generally speaking, when it comes to a buzzbait, I like stuff that has lighter wire in it.
Yes,
agreed. You know, most of your buzzbaits are 40 thousandths wire. On your traditional, full size buzzbaits, maybe 35 on a quarter ounce small buzzbait. But I can tell you when I still like some of my original prototype buzzbaits. There was the Canterbury Pro Buzz that we put a light wire on it. The only problem with it is when people started skipping them and using them, that they'd get bent out of shape so bad that, man, you had to be like a professional buzzbait tuner to tune it back into running straight and making the right sound.
Yeah.
It's just like a spinnerbait. Spinnerbaits, you can run light wire, and there's times where that's the difference between getting bit or not getting bit. But at the end of the day, it's like the things are going to break. And a lot of people don't like that. Yeah, they get by $12
smallmouth.
Yeah, angry smallmouth will just ravage. One fish can make that thing. You're going to spend a half hour retuning it.
Yep.
So,
especially if you bounce them in the boat and let them thrash on the bottom of the boat.
Yeah, don't bounce them fish in a boat. Don't be bringing up my pet peeves about bouncing fish into the boat.
We'll be running another podcast about that one. But moving on, let's go into spoons, blade baits, and tails.
I don't know if you scrolled down on that top water section, but that's that Rapala claptail. That wasn't necessarily new for ICAST, but
okay,
it's listed there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
this one right here.
Yeah. It's got a unique, for a plopper, it's got a definitely unique sound. It's more like a clacking buzzbait sound with the spray and spit of a plopper, which, I just like that. Something different. But yeah, spoons, blade baits, and tail spinners. I don't think there was anything there that really.
This is what I'm excited about right here.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a major deal to most, but if anybody that throws this bait remembers, right here where this swivel is at used to be a little clip, and you would clip on your treble hook, and it had no freedom to swing whatsoever. It was fixed in one position. So to have this swivel here, we actually had guys that would drill this whole section out and put a line through and tie your treble off here so it was a line through. Which is a great option if you can drill that thing out properly. If you don't and it kicks to one side, you're screwed because you're drilling out the side of the bait. So adding this swivel here, it looks like they changed up the wings on the side. I don't know how that's going to affect that bait darting, and it looks like they've got a lot better hooks in the front and the back. I have caught some fish hooked on these front and back hooks, and it's always a little scary because those things are so fixed. With such a heavy bait, because I throw the biggest one for the most part. I throw the size 9, and it looks like they came out with some pretty good colors. I like this electric shad. They changed that up a little bit. It's a little bit more like pearl on the bottom rather than chrome. But this is always the go-to, the glow. I've caught more fish on the glow than anything else, and this is always a wintertime deal when fish are schooled up on shad in deep water. You get vertical on them, and this thing just darts in. It darts crazier than any other bait I've seen in the water. It's all over the place. I can with 2 twitches, I can get that thing to move probably 10 feet side to side, gliding.
It's
Um,
such a staple style of bait here because ice fishing for walleye.
mhm.
Like the ice fishermen, most of them they'll take a side cutters and cut the front hook right off of them because they're
I've
like, I
done
don't
that
even want
before
to
too.
hook. They're like, I don't even want to hook them on
Yeah,
that front hook because all you do is lose them.
yeah. I
And
don't like hooking them on those hooks.
yeah, and yeah, I mean it's I don't know. I don't know if them fins are different. They're maybe a little bit wider just due to maybe
I,
that bait's a little different, but
I think they come up a little bit further up because remember, I think with that old one, the fin came out to here on the back. So they moved that fin further up toward the front of the bait.
I think the hook's just sticking out further. I don't think that
Do
fin
you think so?
stuck out. Yeah. I will say that, so they've done a lot of redesigns. Like they have an elite version of the Shad Wrap, an elite version of the Countdown. Rapala's done a lot of videos on, this is a better built bait, but look at how well it matches the action of a previous model,
Hmm.
not discontinuing the old models or just re-engineering and making a more stable bait from what I've seen. And man, they've done a really good job on that. Usually, myself included, any bait maker, a lot of times when we try to make something better, we just make it worse, but looks prettier.
Yeah.
I think they've done a really good job. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see the Jigging Wrap X be that same thing. Cause they had another version of Jigging Wrap come out that a
They've had
lot
a
of people
couple.
didn't like. Yeah.
I
And
didn't like it at all.
yeah, a lot of guys really just like the original one. So it'll be curious to see if this is a better built version of the original or what exactly they have done here with that jigging wrap. So if you're in the jigging wrap market, that would definitely be something to look at.
This is a interesting one here. Steel shad flutter slide spoon. This is a
Yeah.
line through spoon.
Hmm.
Line goes through the entire body and you tie a treble hook. I don't know how that's going to work because when you're swimming it back to the boat, that thing is going to go in a straight line. You're not going to get that wag that you typically get with a spoon. It's going to flutter,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Interesting idea.
Yeah, it's gonna spin around your line more than it's gonna flutter potentially. But also
Yeah,
if you see it the way they have it pictured, part of that slide, I think, is the fact that it's like they rigged it upside down.
they did rig it upside down.
But my other thought would be is what if you bobber stop that to your line? Um,
Yeah,
what would that maybe do? Um,
it might help.
what I would like to see on that though is a swivel integrated treble hook. I think if you did that, that would be one of the best hookup ratio to land ratio spoons on the market because the blade's going to spin free in front of it around the line, but that's just going to reinforce that by having a spinning treble hook.
Yeah.
So maybe if you buy one, maybe get yourself some, quad hooks or something with the treble with the swivel in it. But yeah, interesting. It's one of those things. Do something different.
Exactly. More flutter spoons, weedless spoons. Um, I do like some of the new patterns on the War Eagle jigging spoons with the
Mhm.
white sack there in the front,
Yeah, or
um,
chartreuse. Just
or chartreuse.
doing some nicer paint jobs, especially with man. I gotta think that casting that jigging spoon, has been something that people have done for years that really doesn't get talked much anymore. But I think that's one of them techniques that, man, winter bassin with forward-facing sonar or live sonar, I think is just going to get more popular. So yes, it's a perfect time to be War Eagle and add in some prettier colors and get some stuff that's you know more eye catching out there. With that being said, though, the old the old vibrating um, what was that? The blade
The
bait.
blade.
The Yeah, the original blade bait. the straight lead and brass one was the best.
Yeah.
No paint, no shine, no nothing. Always seemed to
Yep.
be the best one.
Yep.
Speaking of which, you see Northland Tackle's got a shiver and shad blade bait.
Yeah. That thing's got
Plastic
plastic all
encased.
around it.
Yes. Interesting. I wonder what the concept behind that is, you know. Why have that? Because it looks a lot like those other blade baits. I mean, it's again another thing that we see in the walleye world a lot.
Same basic design.
Yeah. What's the point or purpose of encasing it in the plastic versus just straight metal?
Yeah.
You know, and you can see if you look close, like these images are photoshopped from someone, like because you can see the split rings partially in the holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's what do we have? Jigs. Got a couple in here that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So jigs, I seen a couple different, finesse jig styles come out, seen some more, I guess I'm going to say higher quality skirted Ned type heads or skirted finesse jigs. You see
This
VMC.
is the one that this is the one that I really liked was the Z-Man TRD finesse jig. Yeah. It's got a little bit different head on it than their typical TRD.
Yeah.
I like everything about that jig. Pretty light, light skirt on it. Comes in quite a few colors.
Yeah.
That was my favorite of this bunch here. You said where was the VMC one that you liked? The Ace jig?
VMC's got a handful of new jigs this year. They got a guy over there that they brought in that's definitely doing some different stuff. I didn't really say anything specific to you about a VMC jig.
Well, you said VMC right before I was gonna.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. There's just that VMC is, again, part of that VMC Rapala, Normark, all one thing. I mean, and they brought some jigs to the table this year that are more modern designed and everything that look pretty solid. So, man, if the hook holds up and the skirts hold up, I think you're going to see them to become more of a player in that jig realm.
Mm-hmm. Now, this one, we talked about this a little earlier. When I pulled this one up, it's like I'm looking at your original swim jig.
Yeah.
Like almost to a T.
Yeah. I mean, that is very esque of a lot of different swim jigs by a lot of different brands, but yeah, especially dirty jigs. Which, flattered. Z-Man did a good job here. The only thing I'll say is, I just really feel like they missed the mark on some of their colors. I mean,
yeah,
that bluegill in this picture, like, what is that? Like, the head's painted fire tiger for crying out loud, and
I know.
But that's what makes a total package on a jig is it's not just. You got to catch fish. That's pretty easy to do, honestly. You got to catch the fishermen, and I do think they missed the mark there. They could have did better. Some of the colors are great, that electric shad's really nice looking.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite colors in a chatterbait.
Yeah, almost looks like tactical shad.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. Golden Shiner, that will be very, very popular in Florida. That Golden Shiner was done very well. They did a good job matching the deal, which, I mean, they've done this in their Evo jackhammers or chatterbaits already. So, but little things like you look at their green pumpkin. I don't like their green pumpkin. No, that's me. But I look at their green pumpkin and go, man, it's all just opaque colors, and I like semi-transparent colors to almost opaque colors. I like the trailer to shine through the skirt material more, and I like the watercolor to adapt the skirt material a little bit. So I'm not a big fan of those solid opaque colors. I mean, black's black; it's going to be opaque, but wire tied skirts, $6. You know, if their weed guards are holding in and the hook points are sharp, it's going to be a good product
for sure.
You know, speaking of them, you know, they've got the new Z-Man Chatterbait Project Z version 2. So they just got that listed as PZ2. $7.99. That blade does not knock on the top of the head. And I was telling you earlier that, you know, I built some chatterbaits on the Matt Allen / Tactical Bass and Swim Bait head years ago. I mean, it was a pretty special chatterbait, and it did different things. I mean, I couldn't sell it, I couldn't market it, but I could build it for myself. And this is very similar to that because it is that bullet head. It doesn't knock. It's going to have a faster, quicker vibration. So this very well might be a better summertime chatterbait design than your traditional knocking of the head, per se, Arky style head on the front of a chatterbait. You know, 3/8.5, bunch of cool colors. You know,
kind of wish they'd make it in a 3/4.
Yeah, well, that's what they expanded the line of the jackhammer, more 3/4 ounce options in that one.
Yeah.
But then you have this Z-Man Chatterbait Elite Evo HD. Now this is something, you know, let me know why I'm dumb, but the weakest component on any chatterbait is not the hook. I mean, even this with that welded loop, like I've seen welded loops fail so many times.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I want to create more pressure or need to create more pressure to drive a hook point home. I mean, if you're carpet flopping 10 pounders on a jackhammer, that's probably where you're bending the hook. I have a hard time believing you're bending out your hook fighting a fish on the rods we use for a chatterbait. So I'll be honest,
the rods you should be using for a chatterbait for sure.
Right. I just don't see what the value of this heavier duty hook is. I know a lot of guys complain about the snap, and I can see that maybe that welded ring is more, you know, guys can sleep better at night knowing that that's a welded ring in the front. But I really wonder, like, what is the point of this heavier hook? Please, someone get in the comments and tell me I'm a moron and educate me to why we need a heavier hook in a chatterbait. I mean, the one that's in the Evo is so good. The one that's in a jackhammer is so good. I mean, if you want to do an HD, give me something with like a, you know, some of this, you know, pro wire type hooks, you know, that we use flipping now. Give me a thinner wire with more strength. Don't give me a gaff that I'm trying to set the hook on a composite rod and try to penetrate with. Like, I want easy penetration. I want them to grab it and hook themselves, and all I'm doing is loading up the rod.
It's not like you're throwing this thing on 65-pound braid in vegetation or whatever. Like,
right.
Yeah. I don't get it. You're not fishing this in super heavy cover.
Yeah. But you know what? I had customers for years tell me, build a no jack chatterbait, put the no jack hook in a chatterbait. And I'm just like, how? You know? I don't know. I feel like this product line, very well built, good design. I don't think it's necessary. I think there's probably a handful of people that are very, very vocal that they need to have heavier hooks. And in reality, I just don't think a lot of people are going to go this direction versus a traditional one. And it almost says like the traditional one's hook isn't strong enough. And
exactly,
man, I've never bent the hook on a chatterbait ever. I mean, I don't catch 10 pounders, but I mean, I catch, fish pushing to 7 pounds that are pretty pissed off and angry, or 6-pound smallmouth that are pissed off and angry and jumping and bulldogging you. And I've never even thrown it on a 7-1 medium heavy fast spinnerbait rod, not even using a chatterbait rod. I've never tweaked a hook. So yeah, I'm not seeing it. I was like, man, if you're going to do something in that realm, maybe you could do something a little cooler.
You got some new colors in the chatterbait, new colors in different sizes. Cold shad, Marizo pink, pumpkin gold, secret white. The white's pretty cool.
That's in the jackhammer, the secret white. I'm really excited for that. The pumpkin gold, I think, might be something that I look at using a lot more. I am very, very big on painted blades on any chatterbait. I don't like. I mean, I'd rather have powder painted black than the black nickel. Had very, very good luck with the Evo series of chatterbaits, but I still picked the jackhammer over the Evo. I'm just looking at, I don't know. They're newer colors, just like copper. Copper gill. Like, I don't like the copper blade. Like, it just keeps me. Bama craw. That copper blade keeps me from buying it. Chartreuse and white gold blade keeps me from buying it. Hot snakes gold blade keeps me from buying it.
I agree.
I think in a lot of instances, don't even add new colors. Add the same colors with different blade colors on them. Lava craw. I'd rather have a green pumpkin blade on it. I'm not saying that what they have doesn't work, but I'd love to have something with a different color blade. In a lot of instances, their standard bluegill, same thing. Give me green pumpkin blade. I've seen so much where I have hand tied like green pumpkin head, green pumpkin blade. I buy green pumpkin of a lot of the Evo and tie a lot of different color skirts to it just so I can get that dark head and blade with like the electric shad skirt on it. Give us a matte series, like a matte crankbait. You look at Bama Brim, they got a dark blade on Bama Brim. I throw Alabama craw, basically dirty jig skirt, on a green pumpkin head a lot in the summer. So next year's ICAST, let's see some more the traditional colors with painted blades instead of the flashy blades in the Evo. And that's why I continue to use the jackhammer, because most of their blades are painted, but they got a chartreuse and white, silver blade. And granted, that's a smallmouth thing, the chartreuse and white with a painted blade, no flash, in clear water. But yeah, Brett's bluegill, but like green pumpkin shad, I cut the skirt off of that a lot of times and just tie up a traditional shad color that's all white. I ordered the blackjack. I ordered a pile of those, same thing. Use that to, tie up different colors and just have that black blade on it. So yeah, I'm excited to have the secret white, because that's something I've always wanted, is a white skirt, white blade. And now I can get that. Glad to see 3/4 ounce in some of the stuff, like bruised pumpkin's one of my favorite colors. Love seeing 3/4 in that. There's other colors that have always been around in 3/4, but that's one that I sort of had to tie up myself on a black blue head. So yeah, excited about the new jackhammer and chatterbait options from Z-Man and Evergreen.
All right. Do we even want to open up spinnerbaits?
Not really, but maybe just there's 4, 5 in, and then single blades. There's 5, and nothing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Strike King's
Nothing
got a new
exciting.
Mr. Crappie Crusher. You know, they got a new beetle spin. Yeah, there's nothing. Terminal
Okay.
tackle though.
Yeah.
Right
Let's
away,
get into terminal tackle.
right away there from Tree Shaker. They got two. I don't know what if those. I don't know what those hooks are necessarily used for. To be honest with you, I mean, just looking at them.
That's for your koiki style
For
baits.
what's that?
Koikis.
No,
That's for that's for hanging weights off
really?
of the loops there. Yeah, that's exactly what it was designed for.
Oh, look at
You
that.
hang your weight off the loop
Yeah.
and thread that hook through the body.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which
That's a neat idea.
yeah, I'm just not totally sold on that shape of hook. If they made it in a different shape hook, a little bit
Yeah.
bigger,
Yeah.
I'd be sold for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of that, drop shot bend style hook for that bait.
Yeah.
Not enough bite for me.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's one of the issues
But
too. Like, Core Tackle's got that one, and man, I've heard nothing but fish losing stories on that. And I just feel like, yeah, it's too small. But guys are trying to keep it small so it stays weedless because
I know.
not too many people have figured out how to make a good quality weedless one. That Z-Man gaff worm hook. I got a couple ideas where I'd maybe like to use that. I might have to pick up a pack or two of those and just and see. I got some ideas.
Yeah.
But there's not really a lot. What I did, so you got Gamakatsu's got a similar thing to what we discussed from Tree Shaker. They have, instead of the mono, they have the little metal clip. Similar type hook though. One's got a titanium weed guard on it, double weed guard. What I didn't see on here, and I know they came out with, is they had like a Gamakatsu frog hook that came with for rigging.
Yeah.
But I don't see it
you're
here.
right. It's not here.
Yeah. The outsider treble hooks, that's something I'm going to talk to a couple people and see what the biggest thought process was behind that. That might be, especially on your bigger top water where you're using a stiffer rod, that might be a very good design for keeping your fish buttoned up a little bit better.
I can see that biting fish that are slapping big time.
Because it's not really an outward turn, but it
It's
almost
just vertical.
Is.
You can see it starts to bend back inward, but then that point is vertical.
Yep. So yeah. The big thing that I think you and I both really saw was this Forge Prebim alloy flipping weight from Z-Man. Yep. I know you've been wanting to talk about this probably since we started the podcast.
Nah, I was being patient.
You seem to be all about this though. Like, you brought it up to me many times before we even talked about having this conversation. But
so the big thing in the fishing industry right now, one of the biggest
how are we going to replace tungsten? Because it may be going away, or it might price itself out of the market.
It's one of the biggest problems we're having in the fishing industry right now is the tungsten prices. Yeah. If you're looking at tungsten weights, tungsten jigs, it's more than double what it used to be. I mean, it's ridiculous how much those things cost. If you were smart, you got in about a year ago and bought as much as you could possibly afford. So when I was doing a little bit of research last night, laying in bed, scrolling through Tackle Warehouse, I saw this and I'm like, that's interesting. $4.99 to $5.99 price point, depending on what size weight you're buying, from 1/8 to 1/2 ounce. The fact that they don't go over a 1/2 ounce is a little concerning. And what they're calling it is a premium alloy. What is the metal? If it's not lead, if it's not tungsten, what is it? And how much heavier than lead and how much heavier than tungsten? So I got into AI, and AI answered me a comparison between the three. So standard lead, as far as material hardness, the difference between standard lead, Z-Man, Forge alloy, and premium tungsten. Lead is soft, absorbs vibrations. Forge Ally from Z-Man, very high hardness, transmits vibrations, and then tungsten, premium tungsten is the maximum, ultra resonant. And then you go down to physical size, which was a concern of both of ours. Standard lead has the bulkiest profile. The Forge Ally has medium compact, and premium tungsten is the most compact profile. But what's the difference? Like, how much more compact is tungsten than this stuff?
Right. So I can tell you this: like lead, a half-ounce tungsten bullet sinker in lead is going to weigh roughly a quarter ounce if it's the same size, right?
Yeah.
That's roughly half the size per its weight. Tungsten is
correct.
So, so a half ounce in lead is almost the size of a 1 ounce tungsten sinker. So is this alloy, a half ounce, going to be the size of a 3/4 ounce tungsten sinker? Which isn't terrible. I mean, we're all pretty spoiled in how this stuff is.
It's better than paying over twice the amount of money for tungsten.
Yeah. What I'll say is, even if this was if this was the same weight by volume as lead, but it's hard, which we sort of saw years ago with the ultra steel. Remember the ultra steel and it rust and all that fun stuff. And I wonder if maybe that's one of the reasons why this is powder painted and not anodized for matte finishes and non-chip, complete non-chip. Maybe this will rust. That would be the next question. Does this rust? I don't know. Guys got to get this in the hands, use it, try it. It's going to be sensitive for sure. I don't like that it's powder painted or some other type of paint, because I really got to where, one, so many tungsten weights would cut your line, and it was more to do with the sharp burrs and everything of the powder paint inside around the entrances of where your line slides through the sinker. And honestly, here with Northern Pike, like if that thing flashes, man, it's just, I'm not kidding you. I've seen Northern Pike flipping weeds where they will grab a tungsten sinker with no bait on your hook. If it was silver, they'll try to eat it. So having stuff that chips is just in your tackle box. It chips, it's like, I'm just not a fan of that. Price point's great. Hardness is great. I really want to see a comparison. I have not been able to find, you have not been able to find them saying, here's a half ounce tungsten, here's a half ounce, premium alloy. I don't know. That's something that's going to be, it'll come out. I'm glad somebody's doing something. I'm glad somebody, because them doing it. I mean, I've said this before. I would love to see this sinker shape just out of straight lead. A lot of times, especially flipping, like I'm not flipping over half ounce that often, and the baits I'm throwing aren't that small. So I can have a 1 ounce tungsten weight, still pretty compact. I can flip that around a tree or a cut bank or some grass edges and stuff and not really bother me. But the old school traditional bullet sinker shape is very long and thin, and it makes that sinker and bait look a lot bigger. This traditional flipping weight shape is a much more efficient shape, and I would love to see someone just do that in lead.
For sure.
Because I think a lot of guys would just use it, if anything, it's, that's their practice weights or that's this. And having that cheaper alternative might have guys like, well, on tournament day, I'm going to use my expensive tungsten, but I'm going to practice with my lead stuff just because tungsten, is become so much more expensive, and having a cheaper alternative is just, I think, going to let tungsten still be viable in the market, even though it is more expensive.
Yep.
But we have to have some good options, and this looks like it should be a pretty decent option, but definitely think there's some room for improvement. The biggest thing, like I said, is one, if this rusts, and there's no mention about that. But who knows? Maybe this is some alloy where there's tungsten powder in it or something. Who knows? But
That
yeah,
that was
without
my that was my first thought when we talked about, as far as weight goes, what is there in between lead and tungsten? And
Mhm,
your answer was nothing.
right.
Maybe there's a tungsten powder. Maybe that's how they're able to cut costs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But dude, if it rusts, that's a problem because that is a mess in a tackle box.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing. I was really disappointed there wasn't more out there information about this, and that anytime a new product comes out and there's very little coverage of it, especially from a company like Z-Man, and I'm like, why isn't there more information? Like, I can't be the only one wondering, does this rust? Um, why didn't you, acid etch it or anodize this instead of powder paint it? Um, I mean, even with Tackle Warehouse, where it's gotten next to impossible to find flipping weights in tungsten, like the first ones to sell out are the ones that are the non-painted ones, the ones that are
Yeah.
whatever treatment it is to make them matte black. Um, why is it simply a cost thing? And if it is, it is. But yeah, I've not seen a lot of information about there. I thought this would be a bigger to do coming out of ICAST, especially with the conditions of tungsten. And man, you and one of my friends that I fish with quite a bit are the only two people that have brought it to my attention, and that's really surprised me
Hmm.
because So oh, it will be only time will
We're,
tell.
we're going to be talking more about that.
Yeah,
We're definitely in a future show going to follow up on that after we get these in our hands and actually play with them
yeah,
because I will.
yeah.
Because the price of tungsten right now is absolutely ridiculous and we're looking for alternatives. And well, when I start running out of what I have, I'm going to start looking for alternatives for sure. But I'll be getting some of these in the near future. Just see if it's even an option. If it's a viable option, then we'll go that direction. Getting into jig heads, nothing that really stood out. This Buckeye Lures Elevate head is a little intriguing. There's a hard
Yeah.
bait called the Jackal Riser that has got the same kind of concept, which I could see it in certain situations
Mm-hmm.
being a player for sure.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with that, what I sort of seen, I seen some videos on it, and to be able to keep your bait high but still fish heavier, and be able to
Yep.
get that cast out there, reach
Yep.
fish further, especially as fish get more conditioned to the pinging. Seems like that seems to have
Mm-hmm.
some effect on some things. Um, the VMC minnow shaker ball head and weedless one, I think those are some nice, simple um, minnow shaken heads with big eyeballs on them. Yes, they're not anything overly special. I find it very interesting that the guys over there at VMC and obviously the people that like there's pretty good pro staff over there at that group of brands. They're the only one not trying to shift that line tie back or
I
really
know.
high compared to the weight. Um,
I noticed that too.
it's a 60-degree jig hook, line tie out the front. I don't know. I mean, you can't. Jacob Wheeler says he's using that jig head. You can't argue with what he catches shaking a minnow. So I don't know.
Yep.
And maybe it's just because it is different. Maybe because the action is a little different with that jig head versus some of these other ones.
Not so much roll.
So,
Everything you see in roll
but
right now.
yeah, that keeper system, I tell you, that will hold plastic really well.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think them are good. And it's a keep it simple, stupid type of product design. Yes, they're more expensive because that fluorocarbon barb or monofilament barbs that are on there, I mean, that's hand tied and then resin coated. Like it takes a lot to accomplish that. It's actually,
Yep.
if you would sit down and tie that yourself, it's very possible to do, but it is very time consuming and tedious. So no matter where it's being manufactured, that's why you're seeing that price point.
It's a pain in the ass, and I've done it before, and it sucks.
I would say it's a
It's worth
effing
it.
pain in the ass.
Yeah, it sucks. So I'd rather have
So
somebody else do it for me and pay more.
yeah, Now, to talk about something that I'm probably a little biased on, but the Luke Clausen's level head. Why don't you bring that up, Adam?
Yeah.
So that particular head was the last product that I worked on at this point in time with Dirty Jigs. Started that with Luke 2 years ago, and the design of the hook, like how Luke and I have designed a lot of products together over the years. That product on its own was probably the toughest thing for me and him to design together, because him and I had so many contradicting ideas of how to make a head do what he wanted it to do. And I guess I'm going to go right into the details of it. I was really thinking about not having this conversation on the podcast, but yeah, we're going to do it. So if you look at the over the top view, Adam, so the first thing, it's like, okay, 2 years ago, think of where forward facing sonar was. How can we design something that's going to ping well? Look at the top of that head. It's flat and it's long. What you can't see then from the underside of that jig is in the rear of the head on the bottom side, it is narrow and the face of the head is wide. And what that really does is when you tie that jig head on, it sits like hook tipped up, even with plastic on it. Especially if you're getting into the 3/16 or quarter or 3/8. Like it's very, very
all this lead is pulling it down.
Yes, it's so front heavy on that head. And it's, if you even see, like the shank of the hook comes out really low in the head, so the weight's above the shank and forward.
Mm-hmm.
I will say in the prototyping stage, I had certain baits that you could put on there, and if you reeled it in, it'd almost vibrate like this through the water, because that head would want to tip down, and almost that flat spot worked like a lipless crankbait head.
Yeah.
I can't say every weight did that. I know the 3/16 and quarter ounce did it. The quarter ounce definitely better. With certain baits, though, only certain baits would it do that I put on it. I'm not saying that there isn't 10 other baits out there that would do the same thing. But, if you're fishing and bringing a fish on forward-facing sonar close to the boat, so many of the jig heads, that bait starts to tip down, like the tail starts to tip down. And that's one thing. We wanted to be able to draw that fish close to the boat, get that follower close to the boat, and maintain proper presentation. And that's why it's balanced the way it is. Luke, obviously being with Z-Man, he uses a lot of Lastec product. We went round and round on what type of keeper to put on it, why you see the keeper on it. Keep that weight in the front. Keep that balance the way it is. You see the turned, perpendicular line tie on that head. That again, it's a whole thing about where's that line tie positioning, how is it floating that bait. I mean, this right now, obviously, with the hook that's in it, it's a pretty big Damiki rig bait, but you can vertical fish this thing probably as good or better than most jig heads out there. I wish they had some pictures of all the sizes up here, but it's the 3-pack for $8.49, and you have your classic bait fishy colors that Dirty Jigs has always had, including naked shad, which I think is probably going to be the most commonly used. But I mean, it's the same 4 colors we've had in about every swim bait head or guppy head from Dirty Jigs. So I was pretty proud of this, because Luke and I went around and around to the point where we were having, pretty loud arguments about it. Like, no, that's not going to make it do that. And then I think we came up with something that's definitely unique and is going to present baits in a different fashion than people are used to. And that should turn into fishing the boat, especially around pressured water, which every fish that's getting pinged is getting more and more pressured every day.
Yep, for sure.
So, And there's a ton of
Yeah.
stuff out there. Like there's some good underwater video of it. It doesn't roll a lot. It rolls more than just a round ball. But if you put a loop knot on it, it definitely rolls more. Um, and we played with different stuff. I mean, so the first prototypes didn't have this hook in it; they just had a regular line tie on it. Um, we played with a lot of different variants, and essentially, this is the last one we came up with. And I'll tell you what, I've got guys that are fishing the Bay, Green Bay walleye fishing that they're like, as soon as I can order them things, I need to be able to get some because that's so much more like right next to the boat. And even though the back of this head is so slim down underneath that gill plate section, when that bait falls to the bottom, it's got such a nice balance that it just sort of just drops in there and sits there like this. It just stands up sitting there, especially with the Last Tech plastic, because that minnow bait on the back of it, whether it's a mooch minnow, whether it's a scented jerk shads, it's just going to sit there with just a slight tail elevation, tipping up.
And that head's keeled, so it's gonna it's not gonna roll on the way down.
Right. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
You got the new Megabass Mag Draft head, Z-Man Flats class jig heads. That's basically the old Matt Allen swim bait head.
Yeah, essentially pretty similar to that. It's more their swim jig. It's their swim jig, their Evo swim jig head. Some different underspins from VMC. Different swivels, weighted swivels. And
that's it there.
Then,
all right,
you and I talked about some accessory stuff. If you want to bounce right into accessories, and I don't know, you weren't excited about this. Maybe I'm just weird, but that Rapala high capacity line remover. Nothing drives me nuts more than this stripping line. Me and you both use the normal Rapala one, but if I got a strip line and there's a splice knot in something, or there's weeds on my frog rod or whatever, the normal one where it spins between two rollers always hangs up, or the line has got a curl in it and it goes through in there and wraps around itself, doesn't even shoot out the other side. You definitely
have your issues with them.
Yes. This system sort of eliminates all that stuff. And if it helps guys save time, which in what I think is the most frustrating part of spooling line, which is stripping old line, it's like, I think this is a better mousetrap that no one's really done a line stripper of this fashion before. I mean, I've seen some that you can chuck into a drill that are sort of like this, but I've never seen one that's just all enclosed, one unit. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think as far as all the freshwater fishing accessories, this is probably the neatest one I've seen out of everything.
Yeah. When my Rapala takes a crap, because eventually it will, but when it does, I'll probably consider getting this one instead.
Yeah.
What else do we got here? There wasn't a whole lot more. You got some new measuring boards.
Rapala
scissors.
More scissors. Yeah, more scissors. Because they're, we can re-engineer scissors. I don't know what it is. I mean,
I don't either.
Pliers, scissors. I mean, some of these pliers that you sell, like I might as well wait till, some of you guys know, but I've been rigging boats at a local boat dealer and some other, mechanical stuff on boats over at Sportomotive, local boat dealer to me. And man, I like the price of some of these scissors and pliers. I might as well just wait till Friday and walk on the Snap-on truck when he shows up and buy stuff. Like, come on,
dude. I've had one pair of pliers in my boat for the last probably 10 years. I've had one pair of scissors in my boat for basically the last 10 years. Like, I don't understand, how is there that much of a market to be putting out new pliers and scissors every single year?
I will.
I don't get
I
it.
will. I will tell you. I've got Bubba brand pliers. Been so happy with them. Um, Unsolicited plug there. They don't rust. They're chrome, big handles, make a couple different lengths. I've really been happy with the Bubba brand pliers. Um, Obviously, there's not a lot of new scissors in here, but I will say there is. It's a Rapala scissors, and it is expensive. Like it should say Snap-on on it, but it's
Yeah.
that good. They're spring loaded. They have big blades on them. I've had them in the boat since they came out with them. I've never had a pair rust. I've never had a pair not cut what I'm trying to cut, but they are expensive. And I know some guys are like, oh man, the pliers ended up in the net and I threw the pliers in the lake. Well, then keep buying cheap pliers. You know, if you're that guy. I know guys that can't keep pliers or scissors in the boat for more than a year or two just because they're going to throw them overboard accidentally, some way or another. Where I'm the type of guy, I mean, I have a pair of pliers that I keep in my boat as good luck, like literally out in a holder as good luck that has been in every boat I've owned since 2000. Every boat. I don't lose pliers. Just like sunglasses, I don't lose sunglasses either. I misplace where I left them, but I don't dump them over the side of the boat or anything like that.
Do you have the boomerang snips?
I don't. I know Canterbury really likes them, and I've used them when I'm fishing with Canterbury, but I've never pulled the plug and put any in my boat.
Love them. I use them for cutting every single line, mono, braid.
Yeah.
They're great on braid, but I cut everything with them. This is the one thing that a nice pair of nippers. I don't have a pair of nippers like this. I got a pair of cutters, wire cutters.
Yeah.
But nippers might be something nice to have in the boat.
That nippers, I'm going to look closer at it because. So that's a pretty common style in the fly fishing world.
Mm-hmm.
That might be really good for when you're cutting your stuff for an FG knot.
Yeah, for sure. Getting really close with that flat face.
I want to. The Rapala Elite 7-inch pliers. No, not that one. Where is it? The 7.5-inch stealth aluminum pliers might be pretty good. I've had the Rapala mag spring pliers in the boat for a while now, and they do rust. Not been the biggest fan of those. I mean, they work really good, but okay. So here, if you want to bring this up, it's the Rapala Elite 7-inch scissors. You know,
you want me to go to?
You want me to bring it up
and do that?
I can bring it up.
Do you have it up?
I can't hear.
If you have it up,
yeah, I can hear. I'll let you pop that up when you're ready. Man, I've had a lot of pliers over the years, and yeah, them are really expensive, but man, they're nice. I mean, I've had like pretty much every person that's ever fished with me and sits down and uses it, they end up going and buying them.
Really?
I mean, I've never had a pliers that just like you look at thin braid, like, you know, we run 10 or 12 pound braid on a lot of our finesse smallmouth stuff, and just limp, you just reach out and just go shunk, and it just cuts in half. So really, really good scissors, but holy cow, like I said, if you're a guy that sends scissors over the side of the boat or pliers over the side of the boat, I don't know if you want to spend $60 on scissors, but maybe put a big tether on it.
So here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to go, actually, you keep talking about these scissors. Yeah. I'm going to go find.
Well, that's about all I have to say about those scissors.
Well, I feel like I have a very good system in the boat for storing my scissors. Man, it's just a magnet system. It's a magnet strip that Tackle Warehouse has on their site. And I don't remember if it's in accessories or storage. It might be in storage. Here we go. Let me go find this magnet.
By the way, I misspoke earlier when I said Bubba pliers. There's CUDA pliers. CUDA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I misspoke before.
All right. These right here. TH Marine Tackle Titan lure hangers. I have got these mounted on the inside of my console on the driver's side. You can go driver and passenger. These things hold my pliers. Even in rough water. If I'm running 4 and 5 footers and bouncing through it, my pliers do not come off of these things. Surprisingly, they're neodymium magnets, and they're on the inside of my console so that if they do get bumped off or fall, they fall into the bottom of the boat. I don't have them up on the deck. So, like I said, when I said I've had my pliers for the last 10 years, it's probably a lot longer than that, because the pliers that I have in my boat, you remember when Luz paired with St. Croix way back in the day and they had the Luz reels that St. Croix was selling? No? It was a long time ago. It was a Luz spinning reel and a Luz bait caster that had St. Croix branding on it, and St. Croix was selling them. That's when I got those pliers, and that was probably...
You sure it was Luz, not Daiwa? It was Daiwa.
Was it Daiwa? I thought it was Luz. Okay, maybe it was Daiwa. No, I swore it was Luz because it was a pair of Luz pliers.
They had St. Croix branded Daiwa reels for a long time.
Did they?
Yeah, like
how long ago was that?
Late 90s through because they had round bait cast reels. They never did a low profile. They had a bunch of spinning reels.
This was after that.
Yeah,
this was 2000. 2007, something like that.
It was Daiwa.
It was Daiwa. Okay. It was. I've had those pliers for probably close to 20 years. I'm thinking, and it's because of where I store them. And this is a good option. Is these magnets.
The thing that I see with people is they don't put the pliers back where they belong or the scissors back where they belong. So having magnets to put it on don't help you any.
True.
You know,
well, maybe if you buy the magnets, you'll have something nice to put them on. You'll be excited to put them there, and you'll actually use it. As far as accessories goes, I don't really see anything else here besides that weight that we were talking about for Rapala. We already covered that. We're already at almost 3 hours, so let's try and bang through these really quick.
We really only have one more thing. So
you got the Koike Keeper storage accessory.
Yeah. Which maybe I'll
option. To keep your Koikes.
Maybe I'll do a video on how to make a Koike box. It's not like I invented it or anything, but a guy can make a Koike box pretty easy out of really any deep 3700. I want to throw something up though. Since we're on that pliers thing, take that down for a second.
You got it.
This is the pliers that's day in, day out. That's the pliers I want in my boat.
Got it.
I can reach a long ways. It keeps your hand further away. Like if I'm just releasing jerk bait or crankbait fish next to the boat, I really like that. The tips are pretty narrow. You can get in on a small treble hook pretty easy, give it a good rotation. I really like that. They do make a smaller one, a shorter one that's not quite as nice in my opinion, but it's just a 8 3/4 titanium pliers. That's pretty good. And I've really had good luck with those. I've had a bunch of different products from Cuda over the years, and I will say that's and they have an electric line stripper that's supposed to be really nice. And I haven't used it, but it's that same style of that Rapala one like we've talked about. But yeah, I don't know. and once you use that longer needle nose pliers, you wonder why you didn't use one for a long, long time versus the traditional. We all have like 6 or 7 inches. Like that one's, it's always the one. Anybody in the boat, myself, that's the one you're trying to grab. I keep saying I need to order another 1 or 2 to keep in the boat because I like keeping the pliers right next to I sit down in my driver's seat and land smallmouth, especially on jerk baits and crankbaits. I sit down in that driver's seat and just reach over the boat. So I like to keep pliers right there, so I'm not having to move around once I get a fish in the boat. Tournament situation is different. Get in the middle of the boat, get them off, get them where you're not going to accidentally drop them in. But if you're out fun fishing, like it's just nice to be able to have some extra pliers right there by where you're sitting down to land a fish.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what was the next item you wanted to discuss?
We were just going through tackle boxes. Besides the quickie stuff, I don't see really anything that's stands out to me.
Really lackluster. And I didn't see anything from Plano, which would be part of the Berkeley group, Pure Fishing. I didn't see anything from Plano new that I could speak on. So yeah, pretty lackluster in terminal tackle this year. So let's talk about probably the biggest thing. Yeah, right there. Click that. Let's talk about that. Like that's the buzz, right? Like that's what everybody is talking about. Garmin finally upgraded LiveScope to LiveScope 2. 2 different models. One's for less target separation, but longer. So if I think it's the 44 at further ranges. So guys are already talking about that thing in perspective mode or your horizontal mode. To be able to see fish moving in excess of 100 feet.
Yeah.
That's craziness. I've seen some footage off of that looks unbelievably good detail. Me and you are both 360 fishermen. Like we use 360 from Humminbird. And man, some of the views I've seen off that LVS 44 has been really good. The 42 obviously is just a little bit tighter, better detail, closer to the boat. But I don't know. I don't know what you've seen, but I've been seeing guys talk about it. Garmin users, talking about their bait tracking and their fish tracking isn't as good as the old one. And, all that detail is great. But if you're not bait tracking or fish tracking, I don't know how good that is. Maybe that's a software update change. Maybe that's just some bad transducers. We've seen every company have issues with when they first put out some transducers, maybe aren't as good as other ones that they launch. But I don't know, $2,200. Most units are supported, but a lot of guys I've talked to, they have the unit they have is not supported. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because you start talking about buying a new 12-inch graph, $2,000, $2,500. That now you $5,000 into that. I see a big push from people, a big push from people that are like, old technology needs to come down in price so that more people can utilize the technology. And that's fine that we have higher end options, but a lot of guys just aren't willing to spend the money. They're not willing to spend $5,000 to go stare at a fish,
I'm not. I have slowly upgraded my graphs and gotten things one at a time, used for the most part. I bought my Mega Live 2 transducer new because they had just come out. But I'm buying used graphs from friends, and I'm not going to go spend the $5,000 or $6,000 for new stuff. I've got Mega Live 2 on a Solix 15 now that works perfectly fine for me. When I've been on boats and seen the forward-facing sonar that all these Garmin guys have, I'm not overly impressed. Is it a little bit clearer? Sure. But it's not so much better than mine that I feel like I have to go buy a Garmin whatsoever. Yeah. I'm still catching fish with mine.
Well, in the last 2 updates they've done on the Mega Live 2, I've got so many guys that have told me that it's every bit as clear as the Garmin. Bait tracking, not quite as much, but fish tracking and clarity, yes. So and that was been the rumor for a while with Garmin, is that they were sitting on technology that they were waiting for someone to catch up to force them to launch it. Whether that's true or not, who knows? That's rumor. But you're definitely got a clarity improvement with the Garmin. But at the end of the day, what has that given us? I talked to one guy, he's a little bit off the wall. And, he may comment that, have you ever swam under a beam? Have you swam under a beam, Adam?
I haven't.
It was explained to me like, almost like you ever touch a 9-volt battery to your tongue?
No, I've heard about it though.
That's what it was explained as.
Give you a zap. Really?
Like a buzz, like you feel a buzz in your body. Well, if we can feel that underneath that transducer, now granted, I ain't getting in there and swimming under the beam, but I'll tell you what, these new transducers that shoot further, give more detail, they're more powerful, faster rates of ping. It's just gonna push them further into that. Those fish are gonna avoid it.
Yeah.
So, are we at a point of diminishing return here where
you're looking at maximum depth on your, which one is LVS 44? Your maximum depth down and forward is 250 feet. You can't even cast 250 feet.
Right.
With 99.9% of the stuff, like you might be able to get a 1 ounce spoon out to 250 feet, but
3/4 ounce lipless crankbait on 10-pound braid.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But with 90% of the stuff that you're using, you can't even cast that far. Yeah. But and now you're pinging fish further than you can even cast for most for the most part. So all you're doing is just blowing up your fish with a ping.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's gotten to the point now where shit's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, and you think it's crazy in the bass world, you should see what some of these walleye guys are doing. 236 volt dedicated trolling motor batteries, a dedicated 120 amp hour 16 volt graph battery, 2 house batteries. There you go. You got 5 batteries. You got a charger specifically for the 16 volt. Now you're running 2-3 graphs at the dash, however they can configure it. They don't have the space we do in their boats the same way with the console. You're seeing these trolling motors now. The trolling motors are going to keep getting expensive. I promise you that in the next 3 to 4 months, you and I will be talking about a bunch of new trolling motor information and potentially transducer information from other brands in the industry. And every time they come out with this new stuff, it's like they don't just go up 10%, 15%. It's like this stuff is changing so fast that, like with reels, you see it with reels. Today's Stratic, if they just launched a Stratic today, in 10 years, that identical reel is rebranded as a Sedona or a Noski or whatever from Shimano, because they invest the money into engineering and recoup it, and over time, it just trickles down. Even if that's almost 100% the same reel, down lower on the totem pole over time.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing that electronics because they're changing this stuff so fast that it's like, and we're at fault as anglers, is that we always want the newest, the best, the greatest, right? So they don't see a demand for, can you go to Humminbird or Garmin and buy the original forward-facing sonar transducers they offered? Nope.
No.
But as you know, there's a lot of guys looking for that original Mega Live. Or with this right now,
Mega Live late last year. A spare that I had.
So if the price keeps going up and they're not selling the old technology for less, one, are they are they charging us what they have to charge, or are they just charging us more because we'll pay more?
Yeah.
And with the
They're
electronics,
charging it because we'll pay it.
I'm really concerned that as much as the live scoping and everything has brought different types of anglers into the sport and kept anglers, and because they're guys, that's all they want to do. Just like all I want to do is frog and flip and crank, and I don't even want to look at a graph if I don't have to. But there's guys that love that part of the sport. They love fishing that way. But if it's going to get so expensive to fish that way, I mean, where's the limit here?
I know.
Lowrance has got some stuff that's more budget friendly. Like they're doing stuff, especially in the ice fishing world, where it's like it isn't $4,000 to set up an ice fishing pack to go ice fishing with for. Is it as good? No, it's not as good. But you know what? My 1,500 pickup truck is not as good as a 2,500 diesel for towing my boat. But do I want to go spend 30 more grand to have a diesel? I don't know. It's
nice to have.
Yeah.
Not a need to have.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We ready to wrap this up? All we had left was apparel and sunglasses, and there's nothing in there
there's nothing there
excites me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to close these tabs out. But yeah, so that's like I said earlier, Kurt and I did not attend ICAST. We've not seen almost all of these products in our hands. But just based on what we're seeing in these pictures, ideas of these products, that's our take on them. And we talked about doing something on top sellers for Tackle Warehouse in the future, going through the top sellers, why things are top sellers, why things shouldn't be top sellers, our opinions on those, because we've said before, opinions are like a-holes. We definitely have them. Whether everybody agrees with us or not. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to in the future. We got a couple episodes planned, one on fish care. Hopefully we can get that one out fairly soon. You've been talking to John Cruz about coming on. Hopefully we can get him set up pretty soon to get on here. But subscribe. If you guys are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you're still sitting here listening and you're not subscribed yet, please do so. Help us out, get us more visible. We've had a lot of response on Facebook, bumped up the Instagram following a little bit, but a lot of good conversation on one of our last episodes, and we'd like to see that continue. So I'm ready to hit the button. You ready to go?
Hit the button. I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. See you guys. Peace.
Peace.